Now recording.
Put them in there.
That motherfucker's on.
Jeff, tell me when you're ready.
It's already on.
Okay. I'll start with the opening. Hey, bro, what's up? I'm Vin,
And I'm Jeff.
and welcome to our podcast. This week is the finale for Connections about spiritual religion and faith, where it's about connections with your spirituality and or religious faiths and how it, we're gonna have like kind of more of a the best word I have is not really the best word is the debate episode, how it does or doesn't help with men's purpose and mental health in life. So this week we have a special episode with our guest Cullen, he's a repeat, and then we have Edwin, a best friend from Chicago. We started playing games together. I know him from Phil, and then we just kept visiting each other. I started visiting first in Chicago with him and his wife, and then they came to Texas and visited me, and then we just kept hanging out for some reason. I don't really know why, but.
First.
Edwin, do you want to introduce yourself? A little short introduction.
You just gave it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Edwin. I met Vin. I don't remember. I just know we played a lot of games together, and I think we meshed well. I like Vin's like infinite optimism, no matter what happens, and I think I'm just a pure pessimist. So somehow it just kind of balances out. Makes for a fun
Exactly, it just
dynamic.
balanced out perfectly. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
So this time I'm getting both guys 2 quotes this week. So Cullen, you want to start off with your quote?
Yeah. The quote of the week for me is from C.S. Lewis. Quote, "Life with God is not immunity from difficulties, but peace in difficulties." End quote.
Okay. And why'd you pick this one?
I think it really sums up what a common misconception is of spiritual life and religion. I think a lot of people think that when a person follows a certain religious practice or spiritual practice that they're hoping that everything is going to just magically fix itself and life is going to be good and easy and perfect.
True.
When in reality, a spiritual life and a religious practice is but a vessel to move through those difficulties and move through life's challenges and to appreciate the beautiful things and the blessings that happen in life.
Yeah. I totally agree. I had that notion just from growing up with how people kind of sold me on Christianity and religion of like, hey, religion is a beautiful thing and God's just a beautiful thing, and I didn't truly understand what it was. So it's like finding my spirituality and then getting baptized. I even talked to Colin a bunch of like, oh, when I got baptized, I actually felt more lonely. It felt like less. Yeah, I didn't feel more close to whatever I expected. Whatever everyone like, how do you say it? Everyone how kind of presents like being baptized. And they're just like, oh my god, I got baptized, and they put pictures and stuff online, and I was like, I didn't feel any of that. So, and it came to realize like, it just in the everyday life, I felt more peace, just dealing with the difficulties. So, Jeff, Edwin, any comments on the quote?
So I need to look up the quote again.
Yeah, no problem. Cool.
Okay.
And I'll cut that this segment out. Do you need the link, or you got the link?
Nah, you need to slap on the link. Thank you, sire.
We're currently in a break. What's up?
Yeah. The camera doesn't point to you, but you want to say hi to everyone? Oh, say hi to-
Don't forget, I don't edit these videos.
Doesn't matter.
No.
We've done breaks and stuff. What's wrong?
Oh, it's Edwin. Oh, look, it's Edwin.
That's it.
Where's Danny? Oh, okay. Let me know when you're ready, Edwin.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
Ah, have fun.
Spirit of Halloween. You should put that in there. It's a devil's holiday.
Ooh.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk.
No.
About
No, wait, no. I was kidding.
Dialogue is the word you're looking for, by the way,
Dialogue for what?
instead of debate.
Dialogue. Sure. Okay.
You were like, I feel like this is the wrong word. You said debate, and in my head I was like, I bet dialogue is what.
Maybe. Okay.
So,
Discussion.
I thought they were a D word.
I'm good.
Discourse.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're good, man.
No, that
Alright.
was perfect.
Okay.
But,
Alright,
yeah.
Edwin, you put the quote. Any thoughts?
No.
Okay.
None.
Jeff? No.
I needed to process it. So, but no.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, I understand the quote. I was raised in the Catholic faith. I won't say I'm a devout Catholic anymore. I haven't been to church in probably 15 years. But I do understand the quote because, I was always raised being told, God's going to throw things at you, but he'll never throw more than you can handle. And I disagree because there's a lot of stuff going on. So, let's back off a little bit, friend.
I think I will say on this quote, I think when people do think about God, they think of a source of of comfort, or at least they should, and instead of like a life of peace. I don't think God's goal was to make heaven on earth. I think He made heaven as like a goal to reach towards by being, a devout follower and like a good like practitioner of faith. And like I was raised Catholic too. I'm very much not Catholic now, but I can see why people would take issue with God if they believe that God was supposed to give us this really peaceful and happy life when that's probably not His goal. But it is a nice quote to look at, just to remind ourselves of the role that God plays.
Yeah. Do you think, like, for both of y'all, do you think kind of humans kind of misconstrued religion just over the years, kind of, are kind of maybe practicing or taking it the wrong way?
Absolutely.
Modern practice.
Absolutely.
Elaborate on
Yeah, why, Jeff?
So, to me, organized religion is my issue. Like, I still view myself a Christian. I believe there is a God. I just don't believe you have to go to church every Sunday or you're going to hell. Like, to me, you can find your own ways to communicate with God and give Him your time without having to go sit in a room for over an hour and have people hound you for money. I'm sorry, my monetary gain is not, or my monetary donation is not going to help God in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, I more or less agree. My dad's kind of like that when, he's like, yeah, it's cool to, like, pray. Like, we got the Last Supper, like, in this giant, like, painting in our house, and I'm cool with it. And he's like, yeah, you can pray all you want, Edwin, but you don't have to, like, go there to pray. You can pray anywhere, theoretically, and God is always there to listen to you. And that's fine. I would say, like, a religion is just like a really solid system to get people to believe things and do things without needing an outright justification. It sounds kind of like messed up, but like, back in the days when you weren't supposed to eat like pork because pork is like high rate of contamination type meat, you could easily just be like, yeah, God said like, don't eat pork because it's messed up. It's like bad and you're going to hell for it. So that everyone's like, oh, that makes so much sense. You couldn't tell them, don't eat pork because the tiny microbes in there will spawn like bacteria in your gut and kill you. Because they're gonna be like, I don't know what a microbe is. I don't know what bacteria is. But they believe in the punishment and eternal damnation. It's a much easier way to goad people into the system that you want them to. And I feel like that was my concept of like a religion. It was like rules and regulations that you couldn't enforce with logic that a population could easily understand. You just had to make stuff up. Granted, it might be true. I don't know, right? But I would say that's like a system of power. So that's how I think people created like religion, which worked very well. Like even now.
Justified brainwashing. That's what I just heard.
I mean, I don't want to take a strong stance. Brainwashing.
Far into the second.
No, I believe in like the good things of religion, like, you know, treat others the
Oh,
way
yeah.
you want to be treated, you know, don't kill, don't steal, don't covet thy neighbor's wife, like the things like that. Every religion can get behind. Don't kill people, don't be a dick.
Solid, yeah. And then you got like, oh, but you know, like if someone is like on your shit, then maybe we can kill them in the name of God. But it's all good though.
Well, if it's in the name of God, it's a crusade. It's justified.
Yeah, if it's the crusade or if it's like bombing certain countries, you know, it's all good in the name of God, right? Killing is okay sometimes.
I'll get off my
Sorry.
soapbox.
I will too. Sorry, that was a hard swing. I'll retract.
So any comments on that?
I'm so excited for this episode.
Okay, Edwin, your quote? Sorry, I got you.
My quote.
Yeah.
I don't need to believe. I know. By Carl Jung.
Yeah.
I think that's a hilarious quote because he got asked that. He was like, "Yo, do you believe in God?" You know, and then he's like, "Man," like he tried to be cheeky. He was like, "I don't believe. I know." You know, and then immediately after, he's like, "Oh shit, I should have said that," because now everyone's gonna think I'm a dick, and they did. I think a bunch of reactions to his quote were like, "Wow, this guy thinks he caught shit," or it was just too vague for him to really understand what he was saying, or for people to understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
But I think the quote is cool because it basically says that we all have our own interpretation of God in everyday life, and because we're human, the interpretation is never like the true nature of God. And I think Carl Jung, he very much believed that the person's interpretation is the most true and most real to them. Like he like equated, I think, objective and the subjective experience as almost the exact same. So that's why he said, like, I don't need to believe it because the believing is not important. The fact is that the person knows and like they feel it. So that's like the most real that it can get, like without actual objective proof. So I think that's a cool way to examine like a faith in a God.
Is that something you'd say that you generally follow yourself?
I think I use it to respect other people's beliefs because I am not, and there's no way that I'm gonna be like, I think your interpretation of God is wrong. I can only say that you believe what you want to, as long as it doesn't like literally harm other people. Like I don't care, and that's fine with me. Oh, sorry. I feel like I dodged the question. But me personally, I don't believe that there's a God. Personally.
Does it ever cause any sort of cognitive dissonance for you to be able to say, I understand that you believe that as some level of truth, to me saying that I do believe in a God, or Jeff who says he does believe in a God, or Vin, all three of us who probably interpret God in a different way, while at the same time you yourself believe that there is no God, that the four of us could all in some way hold a truth in that?
No. I think that there is only like probably one objective truth that's real. And I think it is like either I'm right or you're right. However, I don't think that you guys would be able to reconcile who your God really is. I think you all can hold a different image of God in your head. And that image of God one might be okay with, let's say, gay rights, and one might not be okay with gay rights. One might be okay with abortion. One might not be okay. You don't know because you are not them. You just have one book to hold on to, which has had multiple reinterpretations and multiple other faiths that split off from that singular book. So I don't think there could be a reconcilable God. So there might as well just be a bunch of individual ideas. So to that, I'd be like, like they just got their own shit going on, and I'd be like, all right, no sense in arguing about that.
So it's a level of respect rather than a recognition of truth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're not like oppressing people to enforce your own ideals, I have no problem with that.
Because it for a moment there when it said, each individual person has their own subjective interpretation of what God is or who God is in their life, and to acknowledge some level of like ontological truth in the world becomes difficult when those truths are in conflict. And that to me is what's really interesting, because it seems like the only way to avoid any sort of dissonance or conflict within ideas is to recognize that there is objectively only one truth. Like you said, like there is one right answer. Either he is or he isn't. And then what he is probably doesn't line up with anybody's human interpretation. As Jung studied, he was like, look, we're all human. We cannot have the full picture of God. So I just was sort of curious how you, if it was a matter of respect or a matter of a relative versus objective truth and subjective truth. I'm always fascinated by the conversation.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that quote too, though. There's kind of a level of quick, like, wait, he says, I don't need to believe, I know. And for half a second, I went, wait, does he know that there isn't a God or that there is a God? Like,
Yep.
the words I know are not based in a direction. It's just the words I know. And I think it does such a good job of exactly nailing on the head what he is trying to say by that statement of, like, I know for me what God is, period. And it doesn't matter if you interpret that as I believe that God exists, I know God exists, or I know that God doesn't exist. I know, period, therefore I don't need to believe. And I think that is really cheeky and really
He
fun.
was.
Yeah.
He's a motherfucker. He's a cool guy, but he's like, he's kind of a troll. He spawned all the Persona games. I don't know if you guys played. No? Persona? No?
I do. Persona 5.
Oh, my man. Persona 3, 4, 5?
5.
Ooh, a normie. No, I was kidding.
If I unblurred, you would disagree with that if you see everything that's behind me.
Do I see the figures in the background?
Oh, absolutely.
You see my cloud and my
I did. Second you turned your camera on, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I was scared. You see the Yu-Gi-Oh poster, you get scared. Oh, this guy's weird.
Oh, you like Japanese don't blur his.
Yeah, do you
At the end. Once we stop the recording, I'll unblur.
Wow, my man. Don't be afraid. No, I was kidding.
Then, Jeff,
Yeah.
did you have any thoughts on those quotes? On that quote?
On that second quote, I can't get behind that quote.
Why?
It's contradictory. It's contradictory to faith. Because if you know something, you don't have faith in it or believe in it because you objectively know it. That's science. Faith is, I believe it's out there. Knowledge is completely different.
You're defining faith as something unprovable by what? Science or conventional means?
By conventional means, like, to have faith in something is to believe something is out there. If you know it's out there, you just know it's out there.
In your definition of believe, you use the word belief. I'm trying to circumvent that a little bit. You're saying to believe in something is to recognize it as true while being unproven.
Essentially, like if we're trying to find a way around not using the word in the definition.
Right. Well, I say that because I would say that I believe in the fact that science and math are true. Right? Like in physics, I believe that those theorems will hold true because they exist. I would say that.
But would you say you hold faith in that? Because faith is the belief in something you can't prove.
As you defined it.
To me.
Right. I would say I probably have a different definition of faith, but so that's why that's irreconcilable to you. That as soon as he said "I know," that it didn't become a belief for him anymore.
That's knowledge at that point.
Because for me, it was the first part. So Jeff's was focused on the second, but mine was the first part. It's like I don't need to believe, but for me, spirituality. I can't say for religion, but for spirituality, there needs to be some kind of belief in that, right? Like a lot of spirituality is pseudo, I guess pseudo religion, not really pseudo science, but there's gonna be some kind of I don't know the word, dysfunction of knowledge and truth and scientific facts there. So, in my case, I do need to believe of some capacity. I can't just be like, I don't need to believe I know everything, because once I start speaking like, hey, I'm spiritual, and then you try to put into all these scientific facts, it falls apart, because it's gonna be based off of more belief than scientific fact.
Colin, what is your definition of faith, if it differs from Jeff's?
Faith to me is something that I trust with my whole being. To just sort of pull a definition out of nowhere, I might need to workshop that. Something I can trust. We can start there. That I believe is true. Things that I believe are true, I have faith in.
So, Cass can only hear me. She can't hear any of you. She just sent me a Bible quote to push what I was saying.
Okay.
Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. So faith is believing in something you can't see, you can't prove, whereas knowledge is different. So by him saying, I know, it's different from faith.
What is that quote from?
Hebrews.
Okay.
The big
So, that was from a letter of St. Paul, who, while being a disciple and an apostle, I guess I should say, was not necessarily Jesus in the first place, but two, I would argue that there are plenty of definitions of faith in the Bible as well. Not necessarily as defined, but saying this is one way to interpret faith. And I would say that that's a very valid way to interpret faith. I personally, to answer your question, Edwin, something I can trust. I trust being connected to truth. That's how I would put that. Which is interesting. Like I have faith in my family. I have faith in my girlfriend. I have faith in God. I have faith in my boss and my coworkers.
That's like cool. I just don't know how I would interpret it, because I feel like having faith in your friends and stuff like that is very like two-way. Like they can literally show you their devotion, and you can show yours, right? Like God, you're just like in the wind. Like hopefully you can feel it. The spirituality, something good happens to you, and you're like, that was him. He got me, right? Like, but it's never like a 100%. And like,
Yes.
I just find it very like I guess, like respectable to believe that there is something out there that's watching over you. You know?
Yeah. To bring that home, funny enough, it's easy for me to have faith in my family and my friends and in math and science and the sky being blue. Those are all things that I can interact with and experience in this world concretely and objectively. My experience of faith, I would argue, is exactly as the verse that Cass sent Jeff. It is an experience of things hoped for and things unseen. So it is that arrow that's sort of shot off into the ether saying, I know this is a thing that I haven't experienced concretely as a human person in my body in this world. And yet I still make the choice to have faith in that. As a thing that is hoped for and a thing yet unseen. So I'll sort of swing into that one with you, Jeff, as a part of the worldview that I also hold.
Yeah, and that's like, the point we've kind of been driving is everyone has their own interpretation of it. Because, like I stated, I believe there is a God. I just have no objective way to prove one way or the other.
Sure. And that's a completely different question where you're going there. But as far as what the question of what I would define as faith, that's how I would define it. What about you, Ben?
My band falling asleep. No, I was kidding.
I know.
I was kidding.
I'm listening. I'm just listening.
I'm just messing.
He's taking it all in.
Yeah,
He's
I'm taking it
absorbing
all in.
the sponge.
Faith. Yeah, I know. I take faith as belief, right? I'm closer to what Jeff's saying. Is just no, and I agree with Edwin too. It's this belief, and I don't know the return, right? Like it took me a long time to get from like a logic perspective into this. Okay, there are things happening I can't really explain, so I'm gonna go dive into spirituality. So there requires some kind of blind, this blind belief in something, I guess, ethereal or supernatural, just something above the material world, above humans. So, yeah. So that's faith for me. Is just that belief in anything spiritual, supernatural that's above oneself. And it's not concrete. It's very, like I said, pseudo, whatever word, pseudo human, pseudo natural. So, yeah, that's faith for me. Okay, so that was a good introduction, and I wanted to preface the episode with, Cullen wanted to kind of emphasize that this episode is not a comparison of ideas, but a discussion, understanding of two ideas that both cope with. We're talking about mental health and purpose, right? A lot of for people going to be listening, and even just for all four of us, it's just like we're all friends here. We're all just discussing, and no matter how this goes, it's all just a discussion of ideas, right? We're not trying to attack each other or anything. It's all just giving our experiences and just having a good discussion and a friendly debate. I'm gonna say that as that, because yeah, all four of us are pretty different. Even if like Jeff, Cullen, and I believe in God, I can firmly say that us three even believe in God differently, very differently. So. All right, so to get started, I wanted to start off with each of us kind of going into what are our personal beliefs. So I'm going to start with Cullen. Just give your brief personal beliefs in spiritual or non-spiritual, whatever.
Yeah. Born and raised Roman Catholic, currently continuing practicing Roman Catholic. Went to seminary for a few years, discerned the priesthood, was determining whether or not I felt that God was calling me to the life of the priesthood, to see if that's what he wanted for my life. And I spent 3 years there in college. I finished their collegiate program with a Bachelor of Arts in Pastoral Ministry. I would have had 5 years to go of graduate school, but at that point, I discerned out of seminary. For reasons that we can sort of leave on the back burner, felt like I am definitely called to a lot of the elements of the priestly life, but not to be a priest. So after leaving there, very much with a drive to serve people and to help and to bring a lot of love and hope and service to the world, I've just sort of been finding my way professionally, but also with my faith, just continuing to practice. And the Catholic Church is what I call home. I am I very much find a lot of like personal historical comfort in the continuity of 2,000 years of a church. That gives me a lot of really solid footing that I can say, okay, if I ever need to re-examine this, where does this religion start? To be able to trace it straight back to the life of Jesus is very helpful to me as a cultural historical practice, and then personally regarding the actual spiritual practices of the Catholic faith. The Mass is absolutely a rock for me. It's something that I believe was given to us by Jesus and has been practiced ever since. I think that it's practiced in the way that Jesus was asking us to practice. And while the church isn't perfect, with a huge asterisk there, I think that it is a church that is founded in truth by a perfect God and filled with imperfect people, and that we're all doing our best to continue to seek that truth more perfectly and better every day. Probably the best summation of my personal beliefs.
And with that, so then what gives your life meaning and purpose then?
Yeah, I saw that listed as like the follow-up question to the first question of this podcast. And I'm like, oh, starting out light. You know, what is my purpose? You know, just some shallow water. What gives my life meaning and purpose, Vin? What an excellent question. I've had to think about this a lot. I come back to it probably every couple of years. It's funny because at the end of the day, I remember that this life, in the way that I believe it, is something that has been gifted to me by a God that loves me very much, as an opportunity to live and experience not only that same love, but also joy and challenges and trials as opportunities to continue to love Him even stronger, because that's essentially what those are, is you become stronger the more weight you're asked to lift. And so it's interesting, life essentially becomes a gift and an exercise at the same time. And I want you to love me, and I say, great, that's super easy, this is an amazing life that I've been given. And then when things get hard, it's like, okay, but do you still love me? It's like, well, yes. But that answer is not always so easy. So at the end of the day, my life's meaning and my life's purpose is to continue to give back to God that gift of love and beauty and hope through the way that I live, not only to Him, but to other people. And so it doesn't matter what I'm doing professionally necessarily, as long as I feel that I can give back to others a similar gift that I feel as though I have been given by God, I am living well. And my life has been lived with purpose.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. That's kind of the one of the things, kind of when Jeff and you kind of started off of like, hey, I don't really like what'd you call it?
Organized religion.
Organized religion, and that's kind of one of my like bittersweet woes of religion is like, hey, yes, there's a lot of things to be said about organized religion, but it does help in giving people meaning and purpose when pre finding God, pre finding a religion, they were lost or they didn't know what to do with themselves, you know. And Cullen has a very good. He's kind of I wouldn't say master, but he really emphasized. Like, he's a good emphasis on that. Hey, this is what a spiritual, a Christian person looks like, and this is why I do the things that I do. So
I'll say this as well, because I understand a lot of people's hang up on the concept and practice of organized religion. I think there are a lot of ways that it can go wrong, both in the people who are involved in running the organization and the people who are following that organization. I think misconceptions are a great shortcoming, and a lack of proper teaching and learning and catechesis can really lead to a lot of misinterpretations of what an organized religion like the Catholic Church is meant to be. The way that my mom likes to define it, I love this, is that the church should feel oftentimes like a field hospital. That people who are out in the world living and going through trials and struggles and the battles of life on a Sunday or any given day can come into the church and feel like they can find rest and healing and solace and something that can help pick them back up and remind them why they're doing what they're doing to continue to go back into the world and fight a good fight and continue to live a life that is generous and in charity and love. So, field hospital, I would say, is a wonderful analogy that I've held on to for a long time.
Edwin, you go next.
Huh? Okay. I don't know. It's tough.
Your start off with like, what do you personally believe in? How do you live life?
I think for the most part, most of our lives are like predetermined. I would say, I don't want to say God, but I would say that most of the built-in parts of our lives are almost set in stone, and we are guided along a path that it has almost like a guaranteed like outcome.
Could you elaborate on that? Like, because you started off the podcast saying you don't believe in God, right?
I know.
Okay, so but you believe in like predeterminism?
Yeah, I would say that most of our like decisions are not necessarily our own. Even down to say something like how we're born, right?
Okay.
We don't choose our parents, and we don't choose the choices that they make. We don't choose our genetic makeup, our DNA, like the literal IQ, the height, the looks that we're born with. Everything is like preset.
Sure.
Obviously, like it is up to us to work towards a goal that we want. But even the fact that our own like willingness to exert like energy is dependent on our brain chemicals that most people don't understand, that most scientists can't even determine yet. I feel like most of it is not rigged, but I would say preset to guide us along a certain path. I would say even our own capacity to make like friends and changes in our lives is very much like, determined by factors outside of our control. I'm not saying that most people are doomed, but I would say if I was born right now in a certain country or world, that my life would be very, very different, no matter how much agency I try to exert out there. So I would say, yeah, like most of reality is predetermined.
Based off genetics and location?
Based on a lot. I wouldn't say like everything is based on genetics and location, because then I sound like a eugenics or something crazy. You know, like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that a lot of it is like preset.
And how far how far does that belief go? Do you believe like it's predetermined all the way till you're dead, or until, like, for example, you're aware of this preset? Can you get away from that? Can't you, because you understand that?
I don't know. Like I would say in America, I could probably if I was born in, I don't know, Syria or maybe like Gaza, like the Gaza Strip. That would probably not be the case. You know, some like you know. So I don't really know how to answer that question. I would say it really depends on your location, right? Yeah, I don't know how I would evade what's happening in certain countries. Right? So that would be a very difficult thing to rationalize. But I could say right here, like land of opportunity, you can get away with a lot. And I would say in terms of like beliefs, I don't know where you guys. I mean, you guys believe in God, so you probably believe in like heaven and hell, right?
Personally, yes. I don't know about them.
I believe that when we die, it's like over. That's it. You know, I don't believe in reincarnation or anything like that, or like heaven or hell, really. I just believe that we have one life to live, and it's done after that. And I guess what drives most of my choices, and maybe like to like a reckless point, is that I believe that, oh yeah, this is it. It's the one chance we got, so we might as well like make the most of it. Our time matters, you know. Don't waste any time. So I feel like most of my choices are like, oh, this is what I want to do. You know, this is how I choose. Like, I'm not gonna compromise what I do just so I can satisfy like something that I don't believe in. But
Okay. Yeah, I love because you and I had talked about a bit about that. You're just like, why do what was your statement? It was like, why do anything if you're not gonna put 100% into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot.
Edwin, I'm curious. Would you say Vin's question is essentially red pill, blue pill? Like, are you out of the matrix right now? Like, would you say that where you are at this point in your life, or at a certain point in your life when you did come to decide, okay, I really do believe that most of this is predetermined, would you say that you live your life in such a way that remains predetermined? Or would you say that there are decisions that you make that are intentionally yours that feel against the grain and outside of any sort of predetermined outcome?
I don't think I'm cocky enough to be like, you know, I do whatever I want. I just feel like people will make choices that are like naturally conditioned to what they're like, like supposed to believe. Like I'm conditioned. I'm Haitian. I'm raised to like love my parents no matter what. I'm conditioned to love them and be with them no matter what happens. You know. And don't get me wrong, my parents are great, but maybe if I grew up in a different household, I wouldn't think that. Like I would think it's perfectly fine to like move far away, explore my life, my own surroundings, and spend time with like other people, and not develop those like familial bonds. So I would say a lot of my choices, I don't know if they're like against the grain because everyone's raised differently, and I feel like American society kind of like puts an emphasis on like you being your own person, but I don't even think most people know what that means. Like being your own person, like is it really just doing the opposite of what you're told? Like then you're just like a contrarian, right? You're just doing the opposite just cause. Kind of goofy. So I would say, you know, I think I make choices that I want to make, but you know, some compromise here and there.
Because it doesn't seem like it's necessarily a bad thing to sort of be aware of the track that your life is taking with conventional decision making and sort of riding that wave of like, yeah, I sort of see where my life is headed right now, especially as an adult, right? Like as adults, we find ourselves in professional jobs that very quickly can become a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of a life, and then once you find a spouse or you are considering starting a family, things become fairly narrowed as far as the decision tree that's available, let's say. It seems to me that you're okay that once you, with the idea of riding the wave of like, I see where the conventional decision making would take me in the next 20 years, and I'm okay with that. I don't feel the need to make a decision that goes against any sort of predetermined decisions that would be in front of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's a good and bad way to live. Like, I'm not saying that making predetermined or like conventional choices are bad, and I'm not saying that like trying to stand out as much as you possibly can is good. I'm only saying that this is what I believe that life is very predetermined. Like, the whether or not it's subscribed to is like a different matter. But I think that most of our choices that we make are not really choices. They're just there.
I think that's super interesting. I don't know how true this might be, but I think it's human nature to kind of get away from that predeterminism. In the case of like Japan, right? Like the culture is all about you follow the community. You're in this community. You have to follow these set of rules, and that's your way of life. If you stand out, you're chastised, right? Your social status is pretty much destroyed if you try to stand out as much as possible. And you kind of see it in their like artistries and just their works of like they want to stand out, like they feel enclosed, I guess, in that community. Just being, just all that pressure of just following what everyone else does, and then you just see like the suicide rates and the how much they work and all that. So I think it might be human nature to try to get away from that predeterminism as much as possible.
I'm looking at you.
Huh?
No, sorry, I was looking at Jeff because I thought he was gonna say something. My bad.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
Nah, I'm gonna let Vin go with his stuff first, because I could be wrong, but I have a feeling Cullen's gonna pick me apart when I start talking about mine.
Okay.
I mean, I just have a lot of questions.
Sure.
I'm just very genuinely curious.
Jeff, you can go next. Go on.
No, we'll let you go, Vin. It's okay.
Okay, you can go last. Okay,
Wow.
go. Okay, so my personal beliefs is it's a mix, right? Me, of course, being the moderate on everything, but
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt.
yes.
Edwin,
So-
did we ask what gives your life meaning and purpose? Because you may have touched on the answer, but I think I want to ask that explicitly. I want to put that question on you before we move on, because I want to get an answer from you.
I thought he had answered it with the well, that doesn't answer.
I do what I want. No, I think.
Okay, Edwin, yeah.
No, bro. I think your life pretty much has like no meaning on its own. I think most of our life has significance when shared, and I think finding people and finding things that I love to share those things with to those people, I think that's what gives my life the most meaning. You know, I think probably a part of it was, just seeing people happy. You know, I think seeing happiness that I personally have influenced, like that is what gives me the most purpose. Like, I'm a pharmacist. I work a retail pharmacy job. So, like, I don't know what you guys have over there. Like Albertsons or Shaw's or something.
So we got HEB.
HEB. Yeah. I'm like that guy, counting by fives. And seeing people like happy with my service is what like validates me. And like same with my friendships, I try very hard, and family. So like I don't think there is any like real meaning to life besides spreading that feeling like joy to people. That's it.
Fair enough.
That's corny though. So cut that out. Cut the whole thing out. That looks soft. I don't want to look soft.
I do what I want, and that just so happens to be bringing other people joy. So suck it.
Lame.
Yeah, good. I love it.
So how far does that go for you? Like, do you pretty much live, like every decision you make is pretty much for like bringing others happiness, or is there sometimes like, are you looking at yourself too of like, hey, I want to do this because it makes me happy?
Yeah, I think it makes me happy. It's not like I'm like making everyone happy. I hate a lot of people. Yeah, I'm like a hater. So I would say I pick and choose the people I give my time to, and that time is finite, very valuable. So I invested in those I care about. I'm not out here like fucking making these nerds happy that I don't like. It's awful.
Yeah, I'm going to see how far.
What a terrible existence.
Yeah. And what's the conditions? Like, how do you choose the people you want to be happy with and spread that around?
How do you choose the homies? Oh man, that's hard. That's a very hard decision.
You just said you select. You're not doing it for everyone, so there is like a criteria, right? There's like.
Don't kill people. Don't be a dick.
You're right. What about the Ten Commandments?
He's not altruistic. He's not doing it for everyone. So I wanted to see like his thought
Yeah.
part in doing that.
Vibe. You gotta pass the
Vibe.
vibe.
Vibe
But
check
really-
failed.
You're dead to me. I know. I feel like it is very hard. Because like I think so many friendships are different. You know, you guys have friends that, you know, maybe they don't satisfy your like intellectual needs, right? But they satisfy a very primal, hey, let's get drunk need. And they're there for you when you need to talk about something stupid. And then your other like intellectual friends are there for you when you need to have a rigorous debate on the ethics of God and purpose, right? Like, like I think everybody has a different thing they can contribute to your life. Like I don't expect people to be like perfect, but at the very least there should be like don't be like destructive to other people. And even if you are, like I think you should own up to it and like apologize for real. It'll be okay. I don't know. I can't really say what is
Sure.
It is
bullet
interesting.
point list.
It is just a curious discussion in general of like, why are people friends? Like, what makes me want to be friends with another person, and what would make them want to be friends with me? I think you've tapped into like a way deeper question than you've realized, man. Because when he's like, it's vibes. Like, how do you question the homies? Like, in my head, I'm like, why do I have the people in my life that I have? And it's like, is it to fill a need? Is it because they have something that I don't have? Is it because they bring me something that I want to possess? Is it because I care about them? Is it like there's so many things that you can tap into that like
All of the above.
right and so when you were saying like I've got the homie that I get drunk with, I got the homie that I go philosophical with, and then I got the homie that I like go skydiving with. Like I have those three homies and they're not the same homies, but I have them and I care about them and they pass my vibe check. So
Dude, if they are all like if they're all three, like that's the wife, bro.
So, no kidding. I'm pretty sure I've done all three. No, we've never done that. Yeah, maybe not. Vin almost passed the wife check. But he didn't.
Oh damn.
My brother passed that.
I think Vin would make a great wife for you, Colin.
Yeah, I agree.
He won't do this 'cause he keeps saying like, "Oh, you're hanging out with your boyfriend. Oh, you spend so much time with your boyfriend." That's fine.
Yeah, you man. We got the boyfriend.
Well, I told her I was like, you'd think that about Jeff and Edwin if we lived closer. Like me and Jeff would probably be hanging out at each other's places all the time. Me and Edwin, we'd had our Taco Bell nights every night or something. Like,
All I'm hearing is that Vin has multiple boyfriends.
oh no, that's not.
I mean, Vin, you know the door's always open. You can come over anytime.
Ooh, promiscuous.
I mean,
Do I hear a thruple?
We're going to Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going for February. Well, if y'all want to come too.
I ain't going back to Chicago.
Oh, don't be late.
Homie, speak of the devil.
Hello.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
Is that milk?
Not that guy.
For me?
Horchata? Ooh.
Well, while we're on the subject, would you like to tell the listeners how you feel about me and Cullen being something about boyfriend or something?
Yeah, it's like they're dating.
We're full on. We're yeah.
Just like a side piece.
The side piece. Have you ever watched Romeo and Juliet? That crazy version, like they make you watch in the school with Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio?
Yeah, when he comes out with the Glock and he's like, "Let's go,"
That whole movie was a trip, bro.
right? I don't know if you realize this. Oh, thank you, Jennifer.
Oh,
Jennifer!
surprise! Double
Jennifer, come back. They want to say hi.
Yeah, say hi to the podcast.
What up, bros?
What up, bros? Yeah.
Bye, Jennifer.
Okay. I was.
Thank you for the olive friends, guys.
Thank you for
Yeah.
the guest appearance, guys.
I was. Cass is next. I was saying. I was saying
She's
that.
right here.
Yeah. She's probably right next to you. What up,
She is.
guys?
Yeah. What? I
She
was
can poke her
saying.
head in. Tell her to poke her head in.
Mia came to say hi. Jennifer came to say hi. Now you gotta pop in and say hi to everybody.
FaceTime Sarah. Oh, hi, Cass.
Oh, she's coming. She's gotta get out of her chair.
Oh, wow.
She ain't gonna be able to hear y'all though.
That's okay.
Here, I can just do this.
Mia got you one, so. Hey,
Hi.
So.
Sorry, I
Okay,
haven't
goodbye.
really been able to
What's up,
listen.
bro?
What's,
No, I feel like that's what you're supposed to say, right?
Oh, every time.
hey, what's up, bro?
They just want to say hi.
Just
Hey.
ask it.
I was trying to say, like, have you seen the Romeo and Juliet thing, right? Yeah, the dude with the Glock, right? So I was thinking, I was like, Mercutio and Romeo had this solid, like, bro bond. And I feel like it's so heavily implied. Juliet's like, oh man, I can't see you tonight. Dad's gonna be pissed. Like, and Romeo's like, whatever, no big deal. And then, like, Mercutio would die for his homie. To the ends of the earth he would go to satisfy his mans, not in the weird way, but in this obvious friendship, So I feel like friendships are very, they're different, I think.
Yeah.
They're strong,
Hey,
and that's cool.
That is cool.
say that sentence one more time. Male friendships?
No, I retracted.
Yeah,
I
he
instantly
stopped. He
retracted.
stopped himself. He's like, friendships.
Yep, you saw me.
Friendships are strong, and that's cool.
Yeah, and that's cool. I immediately took a weaker position because I didn't want to commit to the full statement.
We need to put that on a sticker and sell it.
Bro.
Alright.
I'm sorry.
My personal beliefs. So I'm gonna restart again. So being the moderate that I am, as all of y'all know, just coming from the atheist background of you determine, you make your own destiny, you make your own life. Yes, you're predetermined by like your environment, how you were nurtured, how you grew up, but post that, once you have the knowledge, you have the skill sets, you kind of just make your own life after that. You kind of have no excuse of, oh, I can't do this or that because of this or that. It's like, okay, I have the knowledge, I know where I came from, I can make this happen. Then came the time when things that are just unexplainable, we won't go deep into it, but like I couldn't make sense of it left or right. It didn't make any sense, but it kept reappearing, and I'm like, okay, there's something to this, so I'm gonna study it further, going to the different religions, and Cullen helped me a lot of trying to just make sense of what's going on, and at some point I came to find God, and so with God, it's like I believe in God's there, right? God loves you, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're gonna have an easy life, but He is guiding you towards your fullest potential, and so that's what I believe it's a weird mix of like, okay, God is there and guiding you, but you also have to take action, right? You can't just believe and then it happens. It's like you have to believe and then go and follow it. So attending to that, what gives my life meaning and purpose is first and foremost would be God, right? He gives me that life and purpose. He kind of gives me that main and side quests to do, but also humanly, it's my friends and family, like y'all three, and my family, and just like kind of how Edwin said, it's just like making these guys happy and fulfilled and being there for them, you guys being there for me. That literally keeps me alive, right? That's literally my life tether to the world. So, so that's it.
Okay, that's it, done.
All right, Jeff.
To put that in a sentence, you would say your life's meaning and purpose is to fulfill your fullest potential. Full stop.
So first and foremost, be to follow God.
Okay.
Right. That gives me that meaning and purpose of like, okay, there's something above me, something humanly, but then I put it down back to the earthly, worldly views of, okay, what does make me humanly as been happy and fulfilled and gives me purpose? Like, why do I wake up every day and do stuff? And why do I do things? Why am I doing this podcast, right? It's like just being able to share experiences with y'all and doing things and,
Okay.
So. Okay, Jeff?
So, as I stated, I was raised Roman Catholic. I am no longer Roman Catholic. I have spent a long time researching and learning about various religions, and I pick them apart and choose which portions of them that I so choose to follow.
Right.
So, biggest thing I can point out, you guys keep saying I believe in God, yet every time I have said it, I believe in a God, not specifying which one, because I believe in multiple. I do believe in the Christian God, but by believing in other gods, I contradict the Christian faith because they say, you shall not worship false idols. I don't 100% follow that one because God gave us free will. We are allowed to believe what we want to believe. So I do believe in the Christian faith, but I also believe in Norse mythology. Like, I know a lot of people say it and they joke, till Valhalla and things like that. I do believe in the Norse pantheon. And most of them.
Okay.
I also believe in portions of the Greek pantheon. I've also spent time, learning some of Buddha's teachings and follow portions of Buddhism. So I'm kind of a mixed batch.
So why do you say you believe in the Christian God? If you, I guess, like if you're not practicing and you don't, obviously you don't believe in like, I don't know what the Bible says, but like you have to follow this one religion.
Because I believe in the teachings of Jesus. I do believe Jesus was a real person. I believe he did die for the sins of his followers. I just don't think that's it.
Do you think he came back to life?
What?
Do you think he came back on the third day?
That one's hard for me to wrap my mind around. Do I think it's a possibility? Absolutely. Because like I said, I can't prove or disprove the existence of a God, and if there is, which, I do believe there is, that definitely within the scope of what a god can do, is bring a person back to life. So, in a roundabout way, yes, I do believe he rose on the third day, and I do believe in all of that, but I also believe, that warriors go to Valhalla when they die, and I don't know which version of hell I believe in most, whether it's Christian hell, Norse hell, Greek hell, the underworld, or in reincarnation. Reincarnation is feasible as well, like...
Yeah, that's true, hell.
Because, well, not necessarily, because
To me.
the one that I do have a clear depiction on is my depiction of heaven. Heaven is, in my opinion, you get to choose your heaven. Because it's supposed to be a paradise for you that looks different for every single human being on this planet. So for some human beings, their heaven would be reincarnating and doing it all over again. For other humans, it would be Valhalla, going up to the Great Hall and having your seat at the table of kings. For other people, it's the traditional Christian heaven of, you're up in heaven with God and Jesus. For other people, it could be here on earth, watching over their family. To me, that's the one clear depiction I have is what heaven is, and it's what you want it to be.
Which heaven do you want?
That's tough. I don't know which one I want.
Right now, let's say.
If I were to croak tomorrow,
Yep.
I would choose to stay here and watch over my family.
Is that a heaven in one of the religions?
That was the last one.
Oh, okay.
Is that? It seems very close to what one might call just like a ghost.
Right.
Would it be some form of that?
Essentially.
But why is that called a heaven then? Like a paradise?
Because it's the afterlife you so choose for. That's why I said some people, that's what they want. They want to watch over their family and their bloodline. So that could be considered somebody's paradise.
Do you have an idea of what the requirements of that would be? Like, how do you get there in your current life?
Don't be a dick.
The 11th commandment, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's aspects of the 10 Commandments I believe in, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, don't covet thy neighbor's wife, like, I believe, in just traditional values, like, the best way to sum it up is don't be a dick. Treat others the way you want to be treated, be a good person, do good in the world, but I just don't think you have to live by the strictest set of codes. Like, as long as you're not out there doing the worst things and you're at least leading a good life, that's enough.
So, this is a curious thing for me. As far just sort of teasing this out, if you meet one religion's requirements for heaven, but another religion's requirements for hell, where do you end up?
Purgatory.
Also a current belief for you? Yeah. As sort
What?
of a level of opportunity for the purification of your soul to then eventually make your way to your heaven.
To me, purgatory is the judgment zone. So you have to face the choices you've made while on this earth and either stick to your guns or repent.
Oh. Wow, interesting.
Wild. Because sometimes, like, you just go to hell if you don't believe in the thing that they believe in.
Right.
Sometimes. Or you're in this, like, weird, like, just wait till everyone dies, and then you get judged by the Lord. It's like, I mean, don't quote me on it. I'm not a theologist.
Like I said, my beliefs are not going to make sense to everybody. Like, I pick things from certain ones, and
that's fine. I
what
just
I run
thought
with.
that, like, it wouldn't be the average, like the purgatory.
Yeah. I agree.
That's cool.
That answer surprised me for sure. Jeff, what specifically makes you choose one thing, either out of a system of beliefs or choose an element and say, this is something I want to believe, and look at something else and say, this isn't something that I want to believe?
Free will.
What are the characteristics of those beliefs that you hold that make them beliefs that you choose to hold?
Yeah, like he's asking why.
Does it pass the vibe check?
Okay.
Like the free will check. Like, does the religion say that you have a free will? Like, is that what you're looking
I
for?
mean, every religion has free
I
will.
like this thing, I don't like this thing, essentially.
Essentially, yes. Like, there are certain aspects of religions where I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me. And there are other ones where, like, I can vibe with that. That checks out, or that makes sense.
Free will.
Because even
Do you,
in the Norse pantheon, you said, I follow most, or you said you follow some, but not all. Like, which gods are excluded from the pantheon? Which gods didn't make the vibe check, like, didn't make the cut?
To me, it's the ones that, like, they don't serve a purpose. Like Ymir, the frost giant, father of the frost giants. Like, do you see any frost giants?
Okay. Interesting.
Or, like, you know, Loki and his children.
What about the Midgard serpent?
Hmm.
Like, do you think that Thor's gonna fight the Midgard serpent and lose, and then the Earth's gonna get swallowed?
It's a
Kind of thing?
It's a possibility. Can you prove it one way or the other?
Can't prove there aren't ice frost giants. So, sort of a difficult question, but I guess I'm just genuinely very curious because it's such a wildly unconventional view of religion and spirituality. I'm just really fascinated because those beliefs shape a lot of a person's spiritual beliefs shape a lot of who they are and the decisions that they make. So I guess I'm just really curious.
And I use them in different aspects of my life. So, like, with the Norse pantheon, like, to me, most of them are the gods of, like, warriors and soldiers. So, like, my military background comes from the belief in that. One of the whole reasons I chose to serve was because, you know, if it would have been my time to die in the battlefield, I would at least die a warrior.
And the free will lords over here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna.
Finish your thing.
I was just gonna say the free will lords over here. Like, man, do you really believe that? Like everything is your own choice?
Yeah. I carve out my destiny.
Colin, you too?
So do I believe that free will is real? Yes. Do I believe that a lot of people, myself included, make many of life's infinitesimally small decisions subconsciously? Also, yes. Do I believe that my life is mapped out in a way that is predetermined so that the ending is known before the beginning started? No.
Really?
Really.
Like, as a lord, as a believer of the Lord, you don't think that's true? Because God knows everything, right?
I do believe that that's true. I believe that's true entirely because I'm a Christian. Because I can say, like, and that does get tricky, because I see where you're going with that. A lot of people will say, well, if God exists beyond time and God is all-knowing, then he knows the life that you're going to live, right? So if God knows the life you're going to live, then it's already, like, your path is set. So that's predeterminism. And the argument that I would make is that the order is backwards. That God knows the path that I'm going to take because I, through time, choose to take it. And if God exists beyond time and above time and everything exists, the decisions I make are apparent after I make them. and outside of time, but I still have the free will to make them while I am living in life. And God is aware of them because he is beyond time.
See, and I interpret that a little differently.
Okay.
So, like, with the whole all-knowing and predeterminism when it comes to Christianity, I believe God carved out multiple paths for you. And that's where free will comes in. You choose which path to walk down.
You get a little choose your own ending book kind of thing?
Essentially, it's a giant fucking choose your own adventure.
How many choices do you get?
Unlimited. He has carved out every single possibility that you could do, and it's your job to walk down which one you walk down.
Wild, because he knows everything, so he knows what you're gonna do. Right?
Exactly.
Like,
He-
all infinitesimal paths. He knows which one you're gonna take.
But
Yeah,
he still carved them all out, and
Yeah,
lets you choose which ones to do.
So I'll put in my interpretation is that God, yes, knows, is all-knowing, has all these paths for you, right? But he guides, he gives you these suggestions, gives you this guidance to your fullest potential, to the best version of yourself in this universe, whatever you want to believe in, right? And it's your choice if you want to follow that guidance or not. Not necessarily like there's a infinite paths and then you choose whatever, because then that's just life. That's just normal life in general. That doesn't require an all-knowing God to do. Because for some people, it's like when you're born out, you just create your own destiny. You do whatever you want. So that's my interpretation: is that God gives you these signs that you can follow or not to your best version. Period.
Edwin, I hear you, and I'm doing my best to try to approach the angle that you're coming from. The best way that I can explain it is this. If I were to ask you to say a sequence of 3 numbers right now, give me 3 random numbers.
2, 4, 5.
Okay. I have no way of knowing what you were going to say. But if right now I said, okay, I know that at this point in time in Edwin's life, he's going to say the numbers 2, 4, 5. Does that mean that I knew what path you were going to take when you said 2, 4, 5? The answer to that is no. Because I only knew that beyond the fact that you made that decision yourself. Once it happened, it became very apparent. It's very easy to say, well, yeah, that's the path he took. It was pre-written because I know. Well, I can say that because it's happened and because you made the choice. So the argument for free will that I would make is that the choices that are known by God are known because they are made by the person.
But isn't that like backwards then? Because you're pretty much just saying that because I exist and I'm being observed, then everyone knows how I'm going to act because I already made that choice. I just feel like, because your example is like, I did an action, you observed me take the action, and you're like, I knew he was going to do that.
Right.
Yeah, like, because that wouldn't apply, because that would be like, God is just like everyone there, because they can just observe me doing something.
Right. And God observes the entirety of time as a singular moment of now. As one who created time, time is not a limiting construct. This is the way that I interpret God, by the way. I understand not everybody believes this. But if God is the source of creation and all things, and was one who created time, time is not a binding agent. And so oftentimes when you consider something to be eternal, what does that mean? To be never ending and never beginning. That means that everything is now. All times are now, and there is no never, right? Like, it all gets really complicated really fast. But being above time means that decisions here can still exist within a context of free will, while God can still be aware of that happening.
I just can't see a reality when free will exists, but God does not know. Or no, God knows. God knows, but it's still free will. I think that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Oftentimes people will make the argument that free will, God knows, right? And yet free will is the opportunity that God says, I could not give you free will. You can just do everything that I think you're going to do. And that I want you to do. You can do everything the way that I want you to do. But then there is no choice. And everything is lived without meaning. Because
Correct.
if the things that you do are not of your own choice, then there is no choice at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I believe.
Yeah. So, okay, then I'll sort of pivot halfway through an answer. I'm going to give a question. How do you personally reconcile the fact that those decisions may not be your own with the fact that you believe that you're making important and meaningful decisions?
Are you asking me how I get value in it if I know that it's going to happen and it wasn't even made by me?
Yes.
Because I think whether or not I actually make the choice is irrelevant. I think my own experience of the aftermath of the choice is what's important. Like, I could very well have been set up by something to marry the person I married, right? But it's up to me to enjoy that end result. Right? I'm the one happy or unhappy with this scenario, even if it is like a finite thing. So it doesn't really matter to me if I made it or not. It's just that I'm here.
Okay, so your entire life becomes an exercise in, well, I'm here, so I might as well enjoy it while I'm here.
I could say the same thing about like suffering. I could say like, oh yeah, like I'm here, but it is my choice to suffer through it, or my choice to take it as a learning experience, even if I think it's unfair as fuck.
Yeah. Do you feel that your desire to get out of situations where you are suffering is also predetermined? And okay, so I'll give you this, right? Like if you're saying, okay, any situation that I'm in, my job as the one who didn't make the decision, but I'm experiencing these choices anyway, is to find a way to experience this in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Beyond that, when you are in situations that you are suffering, when you attempt to move beyond those situations, are you trying to break out of a predetermined life that you don't want to be living?
I think it would be that the dominoes were set to where you would want to not be there. But whether or not you can actually make it is dependent on another set of dominoes that determine that.
Okay. Gotcha.
I understand that it comes off as very not glamorous and not very like protagonist, main character vibe, very much NPC vibe. But that's
But,
just.
I mean, that's kind of true, right? Like we're all humans. Like there's 8 billion of us. Not one of us is truly a main character. Like not one of us is gonna go and save the world or whatever. It's like
Speak for yourself.
Huh?
Speak for yourself.
Well, I think even beyond that, he's not saying that one person is the main character of the world, but the idea that you are the actor and source and mover of your own life. Most people believe that they are in control and in charge of their life.
Right.
Edwin is recognizing in some way that he is not
Right.
the actor and mover in his own life, but is understanding that if that's the case, might as well make the ride worth it.
I mean, if I go into like a biology standpoint, right? Like ants and bugs and stuff, they follow this like the genetic DNA type instinctual how to live and how to follow these set rules they somehow learned. I mean, we're from like a atheist standpoint, it's like we're not really that different. We're still animals too, to a point, you know. When we gain consciousness, but we don't have to get into that.
Now it's a choose your own adventure.
Example,
Huh?
I said now it's a choose your own adventure.
To finish off with Jeff, what gives you life meaning, your life meaning and purpose then, if you have these beliefs with a bunch of different gods and pantheons?
Just do good and do your best
But why? Why do that?
to get the end goal you want.
The
End result you want. Which is your version of paradise. But I also believe with my time here, make others' lives better in any way that I can, whether it's this podcast, helping a friend in need, helping a stranger on the street.
Right, but with the sense of get the end result you want, that doesn't necessarily mean just do good and do better and be there for everyone, right? If the end goal's not necessarily helping others.
Whatever steps you need to take to get the end result you want. To get your paradise, or if you're really weird and you want eternal damnation, go for it. I just can't wrap my mind around eternal damnation.
Like hell.
Yeah, to me it doesn't make sense. Because you're saying,
Wanting hell.
as a concept, like you're telling me, and this goes across every faith that has a version of hell, I'm on this world for tops 100 years. So you're telling me a handful of poor decisions, and I'm not even going to go to the extremes and say like murder and things like that, but like, let's say a handful of poor decisions lands me eternal damnation. Why do I have to suffer for the rest of eternity for a handful of poor decisions made in a 100-year span? I could see temporary damnation, like, hey, this was fucked up, this has earned you 10 years in the fiery pits. Okay. But why eternity?
Yeah, is that a rhetorical question or is that a real question?
I mean, if you think you have an answer.
I think I can try to field that, if I may. There's two things there, I think. You say it's really interesting that...
I need a
yeah.
I'm sorry. You want to cut that out?
No, that's saying that.
Wait.
Take a
Wait,
nap.
please. Like, I want to hear the answer. Don't answer yet. I also have to pee.
Oh, he's got to pee. Oh, we're keeping that in too.
I told you, I don't edit these videos.
I have to pee next to Vin.
It just goes right up
I
onto
have to
YouTube.
pee with it. No, I'm kidding.
Check in.
Okay. We were talking about dates. Which is better for you, the 8th or the 15th?
The
Both
8th.
are Fridays. 8th, 15th, or 16th. 16th is the Saturday.
Dude, none of y'all need to go pee? Oh, Edwin did?
I mean,
Thank God. I was like, dude, y'all.
I don't have anything planned that far out. So,
Okay.
to my knowledge,
What's this?
Little party deck hangout. Theoretically, the 8th, the 15th, and the 16th.
Okay, but we haven't decided, right?
You can choose that.
Layout. How do you get your layout? Not what this is. Did you?
Nice.
I'm back.
You're all back. Yeah.
Alright, let
I figured out that I know how to do Mongolian throat singing.
What?
It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Do it.
Why?
More about it.
Okay.
Perform.
I'll
once
show y'all later.
once again, just remember, I don't edit these videos. So whatever you do right now is going on YouTube.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not putting it on yet. This is a little teaser. Your statement why would a handful of bad decisions in my life land me an immortal life in hell, an immortal damnation? I think it's very interesting because I would argue that it is not only the poor decisions that you made or that a person makes that lead a person to end up in hell, but a refusal to recognize the inherent, maybe evil or bad nature of the thing that they've done. It is a pride and it is a refusal to seek forgiveness or seek acknowledgement for wrong that has been done.
And I can understand that, but
So
my statement stands, like, why eternal and not treated as a prison?
So the second half of that question of why not a temporary hell. Funny enough, an analogy that has been given to me that I try to keep in mind often is that purgatory is on the same heating system as hell. In that purgatory, you have the opportunity to acknowledge that what you have done in life is wrong, but if you have repented and you understand that what you have done is wrong and you desire better, you desire God and goodness, and you choose to repent, for the most accurate word, that purgatory is the opportunity to spend a temporary amount of time understanding the wrongdoings that have been done, purifying the soul to become worthy of heaven. That is sort of the temporary hell that you mentioned. Why isn't it temporary like that? I think hell is reserved specifically for a place for people who say, I understand that what I did was wrong. I refuse to acknowledge that what it was wrong. That was what I wanted, and it does not matter if that was a bad thing. I will not say I'm sorry.
But you're also saying a soul can't change. Like, if they stick to their guns and, alright, you have to go to hell now. Who's to say in 50 years they're not like, okay, I see what I did was wrong.
That I don't have an answer for. I think that is beyond my understanding of how the afterlife would work.
And that's like my biggest gripe with it is, like, I can get behind damnation for poor decisions or bad decisions or evil doings.
Sure.
I just can't get behind eternal damnation.
For sure.
Like, you messed up and, you made some poor decisions that would land you in hell, and, it's like a prison sentence. St. Peter goes, your name's not on the list. It doesn't need to be a forever thing. Like, you're on it for XYZ, and that gets you 100 years in the burning fires. Okay, after 100 years, you'll be brought back for a second judgment. Like, that's my whole gripe with it, is, like, why is that not what is preached? And because, like, to me, saying, the whole eternal damnation thing, like, that's fear-mongering. You're fear-mongering people into not making the decisions that organization or religion doesn't want them to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't believe in it, because I feel like it is really just a system to control your life choices, if you believe in life choices. But yeah.
So, like,
If you believe in life choice, that's
I have to make the caveat.
so, like, I can get behind it and I can understand it as a prison sentence. But I don't think there's anything you can do in your time on this earth that deserves an eternity of burning in the fires. Unless, mass genocide, you kill every person on the planet. Okay, now, you just took away all life and all creation. You're gonna burn forever for that. But like,
Yeah, what about those mass killers, like the ones that caused millions of deaths and stuff, mass genocide?
you serve out what would have been their life. So if you killed 50 people, and like just like, you can make a mathematical answer of it. Like just to make things simple, let's say you killed 100 people, and those 100 people had 50 years left. That's 5,000 years you took away from other people. You burn for 5,000 years. We'll bring you back for a second judgment. See what happens.
This is all hard stuff, guys. I mean, I just feel, I mean, because your guys' beliefs are that free will exists is very hard, because then everybody has like a punishment or like a reward that has to be like doled out, right? Like,
Yeah, predeterminism
just-
incorporates all of that.
yeah, because God's pretty much, well, the person who created you is like, hey man, like I already know what's gonna happen, so you make the choices you want, but you're already like any test I give you, I know that you'll pass or fail. Like anything, any difficulties in your life, I know you'll breeze through it, or with some struggle you'll pass. But I already knew, and then it just all becomes asinine, kind of pointless, right?
Right.
Like,
There is no point of a judgment if a judgment is already determined.
yes,
Which is
Like-
why
like that's-
I do appreciate that with a spirituality of determinism, that you also do not hold a view of the afterlife. I appreciate that because I know people who are predeterminists and also believe in heaven and hell, and I find quite serious issue with that.
yeah, that's like mental illness, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
that
because-
would be an understanding of a God who is malicious and vindictive. Of like,
Well-
I knew you were gonna be evil, and knew that you, as a soul, were gonna end up in hell, and you're just gonna do that, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you just lost the lottery, like from the get-go.
But that's where my viewpoint on free will comes into play. Of he set a infinite number of paths ahead of you, and you choose which one you're going to walk down. So he has set multiple that end in heaven, hell, heaven, hell, heaven, hell, and you just navigate your way through.
I have no problem with that. No problem with that at all.
I feel like the issue for most people in believing in predeterminism and in the outcome that there's just a cruel God is that. Like, I think because we're raised to believe in a good God and like a just God, that you believe that God always has the best interests ahead of you. He tests you for a reason. He loves you for a reason, right? And I think that can be detrimental when things that are so catastrophically bad occur out of your control. And then what do you have left to believe in if the God that you believed in is actually not good? And he's just like Zeus or something, who's just like a dick, right? I'm not saying that God's a dick. I have to clarify. I'm just saying that if that were the case, then that would suck for a lot of the books that are out there, right? I find it so hard to justify any belief in God. I hope you don't think that I've just like arrived to this conclusion just cause I'm like trying to be like an edgelord or something. Like it is very uncomfortable for me to think that a God could be good and so many followers could believe him to be good when I can see all the tragedies that occur in the world. And knowing that God knows everything, planned everything, creates everyone, and just to have them get like nuked by a carpet bomb when they're born, like 5 months prior, right? It's just too crazy for me to believe in the existence of any God. Like let alone where that soul even goes after being carpet bombed, right? You have no decision to make, right? So where do you go? Like, I don't understand. That is why I don't believe in any God.
Yeah, super interesting. I think it's curious that you experience suffering and understand that there is a value to suffering in life, to say, okay, well, if I'm going to suffer, I might as well learn from it, because I was predetermined to suffer in this way, but my attitude is what determines how I experience this life. That you personally can experience that, and yet a God who would design a circumstance just the same to attempt to evoke the same response, to say, well, if this challenge is going to be something that I'll experience, how can I make the most of it? How can I lean further on the God that I know is holding me? I find that curious that those two can look so similar, and that would be something that you hold and then have a hard time seeing. You know what I mean?
No, I need you to reiterate. I'm sorry.
You're saying
I tried.
that in a predetermined existence that there are moments of suffering.
Correct.
And that you yourself, when you're suffering, say, well, if I'm here and I'm predetermined to experience this suffering, I might as well make the most of it. I might as well learn something from it. I might as well grow. I might as well lean on the people that I love and bear through this and grow stronger because of it.
Okay.
I find it curious that that is something that you can believe, and a situation that's similar, that God would bring to someone, a level of suffering that they have the opportunity to say, if I am to suffer, but I am asked to suffer by the God who wants to make me stronger, and who wants me to grow by lifting something that I don't think that I can carry, that I can then lean on the people that I love and learn and bear through this and grow stronger from it.
Could be the
Okay.
case. Like, it could be that it was made that way, that I am supposed to learn from this. But I guess that only applies to me, right? In America, right now, in my middle class, comfortable home. I don't think it could apply to everyone. And I think that's where I take issue. Like, what lesson is there to be learned from stuff that's happening outside of this very safe bubble? That's why I almost feel like God is like kind of like a cop-out like choice that we like believe in to make ourselves feel like we're deserving of something, like good or bad. Like onto others as well. Like, oh, like that guy's a dick, he's gonna go to hell. Like, I don't care, Like, it just feels like a cop-out. Like, oh, I belong here and they belong there, based on things that I observe, that I do good things and I can see that they do bad things, etc. Feels a little.
Right, because
Just
your
mental.
example, Edwin, was about like people that just immediately nuked, or people in third world countries have no chance of stopping dirt and mud, right?
Yeah.
Having clean water, yeah. They have no chance at all to grow or get out.
Yeah, what kind of life is that? Like, what do they have to look forward to?
So in the darkest points of your life, you would still say that you had the opportunity to attempt to find positives in that life. Would you agree with that, Edwin?
Sorry.
Oh, what's up? You got that guitar?
Thank you.
Woo! You better go tear it up.
Yeah. Sorry, ask the question again. Okay.
Then in the darkest parts of your life, given, obviously with the caveat of how dark can lives get here in America, momentarily when people's lives can be consistently, significantly darker, depending on where you're born and when you're born. Obviously with that caveat aside, when you've been in the darker points in your life, have you still made the choice to try to find some purpose to that suffering?
Sure, because if I didn't, I'd be dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where people find it.
If I'm gonna attribute, I'm sorry, like if I am going to attribute good things that happen to me to God, then I probably have to attribute bad things that happen to me to God too. Unless I'm gonna be like, oh, that was Satan, which is just fake.
So the bad thing as the opportunity to find purpose and say, well, I hope that there's a reason that I'm going through this. Let me find something here in this difficulty that I can bring fruit from a bad situation. I would say that that's not too far off from a Christian mindset. If that makes sense.
That's fine.
Yeah.
If you want to interpret them. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying it doesn't like detract from the other stuff that's happening. Like, I guess I'm just saying that like I have the opportunity to even make that interpretation in the first place, whereas other people do not.
Because you're referring to people who are living just in permanent states of what? Poverty, desolation, just like
Yeah.
miserable.
Or not even a chance to life.
Like, what could I like? I guess I just imagine if I was like a believer of God, right? And I'm like walking around spreading alms, and then somebody from like I don't know Palestine who just like a kid, right? It's like, why did this happen? You know, what could I say? Like, it was God's test to you. It is the plan. You will come back from this. Like, how could I? Like,
And you may not.
yeah, I would probably say no, fuck that. Like, I would not believe in it if I were you. Like, I would hold a lot of contempt and malice. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not coming off as a complete hater. I'm just trying to
Makes sense.
think about how people frame their mindset.
Understanding that the luxury to have the opportunity that when things are difficult, I get to frame them that way, rather than the default is everything is difficult, and life is apparently that way because God has allowed it to be that way. Why would
Yeah.
I follow that if my whole life is going to look like that?
Yeah.
And that might not be answerable, so.
Oh yeah, none of this is answered.
Oh yeah, no, it's a tremendous thought experiment.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I'd like to just diverge from this one, because this one is, I don't know the word, pretty, I guess, irrelevant to mental health.
Oh,
and
we can move
purpose.
forward.
Yeah,
This
for
is-
sure.
it's
Oh my
so-
bad. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, this is so fantastic.
I wouldn't say it's irrelevant to mental health. Like, faith. I said I wouldn't say it's irrelevant to mental health because faith plays a portion one way or the other in someone's mental health. Like, all of the beliefs we've talked about tonight help shape someone's mental fortitude on whether it's positive or negative.
That's true. That's true. But I guess the questioning one side of being in this desolate and despair all the time, like what justification has this one ideology or theology? How would that work here? And so I think that part's even. But like, of course, people in despair, how would they get through it? What are their beliefs? Of course, that would be relevant. So, I want to get kind of to the next question would be just wanting to see why each of y'all personally, why should one be a good person? What's the point of being a good person? Just kind of see your each of y'all's thoughts on that.
Wait, who's first? Yeah.
Start with Edwin.
What?
So the problem is, okay, I have to think about my thoughts first, because I believe that, like, good, the definition of good itself is, well, I guess a part of the definition is to not harm oneself or others. So then, okay, why should one be a good person?
It's not an easy question to answer, is it?
Yeah, I should have asked this question.
Yeah, bro. No, I was kidding.
It's always easy to bounce off of other people's
Yeah.
answers to say,
Yeah.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
Oh, guys.
To piggyback off of what?
Yeah.
No,
Okay, so, out of my own personal, right? I'm just gonna go personal first, and then maybe I can figure out the logic after. But spreading good and doing good for yourself and others has seemed to amass the most positive in my life and in others, right? When I try to be selfish or follow a destructive life, it just caused bad negativity, drama. The outcomes were not favorable at all. So in at least a human standpoint, just being good usually amassed a positive result. So spiritually, I believe it's like
Karma.
What's up?
You're defining karma almost.
If I do good and positive,
Then good things happen to you.
I wouldn't say you deserve positive. You deserve good to come to you. I'm saying like when you do good, usually it seems to come out for personally, right? Positive outcomes come out. Not that saying I deserved it, just saying that's usually what happens when I do it.
It's a behavioral perspective.
Correct. That's what I'm starting off with first, and then I'm going to go into spiritual and see about karma and Christian. In a spiritual standpoint, I'm going to start off saying I believe your soul is based off of what you do in your lifetime, in your human life. So then it's like, okay. Now it comes to the question of like, okay, are you born out just solely good or solely evil or like selfish? This
Oh, that's crazy. That's kind of predeterministic.
That's
crazy, bro. Are you saying that some souls are better than other souls? Oh man.
This is the hard part. Is like I like to believe that. I'm just gonna start off and then we'll tear it down. Okay? But all the good you do, it reflects your soul, and then any bad you do kind of taints it. To the point of if you don't reconcile, acknowledge it, and own up to it, then yeah, your soul gets tainted. So I like to believe that doing good makes your soul, I guess, hear, stronger. I don't know a good word for it. So, and then just even like in Christian teachings, they usually teach you it's like, okay, if you're Christ-like, then you'll live life out as Christ would. So Jesus tries to do good for others. So it's like, okay, then if I'm going to be Christ-like and I believe in God, then I should do good and be there for others. So,
but what's the point? What's the point of being a good person or having that, let's say, like pure soul, that purified heart?
Right. So then that goes into like the afterlife. So that's like determining which kind of Christian values you believe in. But it's like if I do good and I get judged and I did enough good, then I go to heaven. That's
what is it? Is that what it is for you? What is your personal belief?
So then that's the problem is I don't know about the afterlife. I can't say for sure. I don't have like I didn't die and come back to give an answer. So I don't have. I can't say. I have no idea.
So without an answer, why should someone be a good person?
Just in case I get judged. I don't know.
Great.
I don't want to go. I didn't believe I'd die and God is actually real. And he's like,
you're playing the odds.
I'm playing the odds.
Yeah.
I'm just.
That sounds like an insurance policy now.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I'm good.
Let me cover my bases here just in case.
I'm
So-
so scared that God's gonna fuck me up, so I gotta do good things so he knows that I'm gonna go to heaven. Maybe.
But obviously, if nothing happens and you die, cool. But if something does happen after I die, hopefully I've done enough to be like, hey, man, you did a good job. You're good, man.
And like, dude, you hedged your bets, and let me tell
You
you,
won.
it's really paid off. Because there was a while there where you could have gone a different route, you would not have done well. No,
I
that's
die.
that's funny.
I die. I close my eyes. It's pitch black, and I'm like, oh, thank God. And then God comes out like, ah, you thought you never believed in me, did you, buddy? And you're going, yeah. And then I'm cooked.
Yeah, you see Edward on the other side. Ah, shit.
Yeah, I knew it. Those guys were right. Valhalla, you're like,
So that's my beliefs. Risk aversion. That's what I'm coming from.
Risk aversion.
averse, yeah.
Why should I be a good
I knew you
person
weren't a
to
good
hedge
person.
my bets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you have your question phrased in this outline is, why should one be a good person? So this should apply to everyone. Why should anyone listening to this podcast say, you know what, I should be a good person?
Just in case.
All right, you know,
Okay, when I start from the human standpoint, like I said,
of course.
yeah, it comes out more positive when I do good for others. Caveat of don't let people step over you, don't be a pushover. So stand up for yourself. But yeah, so
Yeah. And on the off chance the afterlife is heavy judgment, you're ready.
yep, there
That's cool. All right.
that's me.
There you go.
All right.
Jeff?
Do unto others as you would have them do to you.
Karma.
That's-
You're more in the karma.
Yeah, like, be a good person because you want people to be a good person to you. To me, it's as simple as that. Like, put out into the world what you want to receive from the world. If you're an evil dickhead and you want to receive that, put it out in the world and you're going to get it. But if you want to see good in the world and you want good to happen to you in this world, put good out into the world.
How do you feel about the people that don't seem to be getting that karmic reaction? Let's just say, like this millionaire, and he's stealing from his employees and stuff, and he just keeps being rich, and nothing really happens. He doesn't seem to. He's able to evade taxes, or he gets a fine, and pays it off with $1 million.
Eventually, it will catch up.
In this life or the next?
I say in this life or the next.
In the same way that if one attempts to be a good person and life never sort of swings the other way and life continues to be difficult.
But you were a good person and you earned your paradise, whatever it may be for you.
Edwin,
Huh? Oh.
why are you like? Why should one be a good person? What's your preach?
Probably just feels good. Let's say.
It passes the
Generally
vibe check.
feels good. Yeah. Feels good to be a good person, I can't say it's always like a rewarding thing. I feel like the good thing to do is usually like not very it doesn't feel that good most of the time. But in the long run, I think it does. But you're about to stop a friend from making a very terrible decision, and you gotta go out of your way to be like, "Hey, bro, don't do that." And they hate you for a little bit, but they appreciate it in the end. It's a very specific circumstance, but
Sure.
but I just don't think there's a quantifiable good or bad thing to do besides the obvious. I could probably justify murder in some way or another if I really tried to, like in defense of somebody, or maybe I was a soldier in a war and I believe in the country I was fighting for, and I killed people for my country.
That's a
I could say
crusade.
that- I could say it's a valorous thing to do, and that might not earn me a spot in hell, I guess. Maybe. I don't know how that works. I think generally being a good person just feels good, and you feel like a weight is lifted, and there's no guilt. Unless you're a sociopath, then you don't feel anything. No, a dopamine rush or anything. So that you don't know how that feels.
Then you're sick. Quite literally sick.
Correct.
I'm curious, when being a good person doesn't feel good, would you still recommend that someone be a good person?
Yeah, but at that point, the reasons would be not to feel good. It would be to avoid problems with the law and stuff like that, or like a retaliation of some sort, just to keep yourself safe. Because being good sounds like a very social construct, right? Like you are doing good things, law-abiding things, so that you don't get punishments, social or otherwise. Feels very subjective.
It's a good question. That's a good point. So, Vin, when you say why should one be a good person, do you mean good as in law-abiding, like not being bad, or do you mean good as in being above just not bad, going out of your way and doing specific actions toward a good.
Yeah, I guess in my head it's more of why should one not do a bad thing, not do bad things? Why should one? Because that doesn't necessarily
Those
mean
are two different questions.
right. That doesn't mean you can do you should do good. It just means just follow the law.
Because that's what he's saying. He's like, just avoid bad consequences. Like, if you're gonna break a law, don't break a law because you don't want to go to jail.
So then in my head, then I was thinking, it being good involves not doing bad things, but also would mean you are above just living, being neutral. It's like, okay, why would I be there for others, or why would I help someone else? Why would I be selfless? I think that's in my head where I was going with that question. But then the problem is it's subjective. Like, which is my next question is, where do you get your morals from? So I guess in your definition of good, that's what I'll say. In your definition of good, personally, why should one follow that? Why should others follow that? Your definition of good. Which I guess Edward answered.
It's built different. It's hard. Some people are just built like that. Like, they're just built feeling like they should do correct, I guess, things that are difficult, but will benefit their friend in the long run. Honestly, I don't really think there is like a good or an evil thing that truly exists. I feel like I watched this TikTok the other day. Like, this dude was saying something like that. He's like, yeah, like, there's no good, there's no evil. There's only truly evil people who think that they're the absolute good. And the most good person is the one that constantly rethinks and reevaluates everything they're doing to make sure and question, hey, am I actually doing the right thing? Or do I just think I am? It's like, I don't know, one of your podcasts, you said like only a Sith deals in absolutes or something like that. and I think that's the thing, right? Like, that's the question. There is no outright true good nature. Because if we knew that, we'd always know exactly what to do, how to punish people, how to react properly. But we don't. Right? Law is a fickle thing, and so is like a book or writing or anything that we taught. But what's truly good is adapting to that law correctly.
Because even my definition, I could only answer the opposite, right? Is a bad thing would be harming yourself or others, but I couldn't answer what is actually truly good. That's not. I don't even have an answer to that. So.
Like I said, I don't feel like it exists. But how do you guys feel about it?
I mean, there's different levels of good, in my opinion. Like, something as small as, helping a friend move. Like, to me, that's doing good. You're helping another person. Up to, saving somebody's life, or, talking someone off that ledge that's, on the, about to take their own life. Or something as small as, you see an injured bird and you pick it up off the road so it doesn't get run over.
Yeah.
Just like there's levels of bad.
I think I avoid defining it because it's like I think it's just I personally believe it's impossible to be truly altruistic, right? To be selfless and all good and just doing good all the time.
Oh, absolutely. That is an impossibility. There is nobody that is 100% good and virtuous.
What good is, but I can define what I believe bad is. So that's a bit easier. But yeah, being good it is a cultural and social construct depending on what you believe in, your gods or your spiritualism, what the traditions are, right? Some people believe that sacrifice was good or whatever, old pagan religions and stuff. So yeah.
Talk about how, way back in the day, they would sacrifice people so it would rain.
Exactly. So. Helen, you're the last one. right? You with your definition of good.
Yeah. Been thinking a lot about this. I think my answer in part stems from a bit of the golden rule that Jeff brought, right? Do unto others as you would want done to you. Why should one be a good person? I think a person should attempt to, in either neutral ways or intentional ways, good as I would define it is willing. Sorry, I define love as willing the good of another. I'm going to start there. Good being something that would potentially benefit their health, benefit their mental well-being, emotional well-being, physical well-being. It could lend itself towards an improvement in some point in their state of being, let's say, to keep it super, super vague. A person should be good because with an understanding of empathy, goodness leads to goodness. That if I am able to recognize another person as another person and do good, I am essentially answering that person's question of why should I be a good person. That I can be that answer to them and they can be an answer to me. And that, exactly, and in the best way. And that if we choose to make that decision, life becomes better for all of us. That as a collective, we can bring our experience of life up rather than down.
Or bringing yours up in because of other. What are you saying? Using others, I guess.
Of course, as a consequence, obviously, if I'm helping another person, there is a reactive emotion of happiness for me, knowing that I've helped another person to be better in some way, in some state of their life. But just in general, I think I would say that do your best to be a good person, because we can each play a small part in making life better for each other. Because when I interact with someone, I want that to be positive, and I want them to leave more positive. And I think everybody can offer that to everyone else.
They have some kind of form of capacity to do it.
Right. We don't live life alone. We don't live life isolated. So if I have to interact with other people, I'm going to do it positively. And I'm going to leave them in a positive state.
Unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath, then you
Nope.
neurology just can't.
Yeah. Mentally ill notwithstanding. Try to be a good person.
Coming off of that, then I wanted to see where y'all get those morals. Like, how do y'all personally define good and bad? So since I started first, I'll go with. I was thinking about this, and I'm like, damn, like, it's weird because kind of ended what you were saying. Society kind of defines those good and bad, right? And so like, I'm thinking about like when I was a kid, we watch a lot of shows and animes of like, oh, be there for others, this will of doing good or something like that. And I was like, man, like, why do I believe what I believe? Like, what is good and what is bad? And I don't have a good answer. I think right at this point it's just more of like subconsciously. I heard from like the Ten Commandments, Buddhism is defeating your own demons and karma. And then watching a lot of shows, so my favorites are like, morally my most favorite would be Avatar: Last Airbender. They always talk about like, well, obviously Aang is Buddhist, so it's like, okay, karma and doing good for others. Then going to spiritualism, you know, just my own personal signs. Every time I did good for others, I did get rewarded. So it's like, okay, there seems to be some kind of pattern there of the more I do good, the more good is just spread out, not with just me, but for others as well. So then that's, and the problem is, I guess I don't have like a defined list. It's just more of just going, living through life and experiencing that's, and then just keep following those patterns. So, yeah. So that's mine.
Morals is like a nature versus nurture thing, and it's on the nurture side. It's what you're brought up in. You learn your first morals from your parents, and based off their morals, and then the rest of your morals are shaped through your experiences throughout life.
So, where'd you get yours, Jeff?
My dad. Like, my baseline was from my dad, and then from there it was throughout my experiences, you know, the different people I've met and interacted with, the different faiths and religions I've looked into and followed, and, like, it's just a collective of all of my experiences.
Do you have a favorite source of morals then?
Not really. I mean, I got most of them from my dad.
Yeah.
You know, he raised me to respect others and, you know, don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's your, yep. Edwin?
I don't know. I mean, I was raised in Catholic school, so a lot of the morals I learned were just like book things. But I guess it doesn't really like make any sense until you actually like try to like to like not do the things and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of morals just come from like life experience and just like doing things and then seeing how people react to the things you do, and that kind of gives you like, oh, I guess I shouldn't do that. Like I don't like that. Like I don't like how it made me feel, or like on a higher like level, like I don't like how it made like other people feel, and you can kind of like, I think, slowly understand that your actions matter to people, and then build your own philosophy from there.
What stops? So you're saying just through reactionary, just going through experiences, but what about the people that kind of don't care, right? They're like, okay, I have an ulterior motive to do these things. What's stopping? How would you tell them to kind of stop? Like, okay, I guess that's more of absolutism of like, that's you're killing, you're murdering and stealing so you can help your family or something like that. What would you?
If somebody's like, are you saying if somebody like kills people for a good reason or what? Like,
yeah, how would you justify? Like, how would you tell them like, hey, usually killing is a bad thing, unless you're saying that the ends justify the means.
I don't really think that's my place to say. Like, obviously, I can like look at them and be like, oh man, I wish you didn't like kill people. But yeah, but I don't necessarily think I can discount their reasoning without really knowing them. Like, I don't really know any bad people that do things purely because they were just bad.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people are often put in bad spots, and they're like one or two poor choices away from falling without a safety net to catch them. I think people are predisposed either by nurture or by their genetics to have illnesses that prevent them from making the best choices in their lives. So I don't think I could really accurately judge them. Obviously, I'll be pissed if they killed like my friends and family, right? But that's just my own reaction to it. I can't use that as like a reason to be like, no, fuck this guy. Like, I don't know their lives.
Yeah, it'd be a bias if you did that.
I could easily be put in the same spot, I think, if I were in their shoes.
Agreed.
Edwin, how do you reconcile a sense of morality with predetermined
well, I can't. I guess that's why like I don't really see people doing things as like good or bad. I just think they're a product of themselves being here and the dice that they rolled. The 285 sided dice that they rolled.
I rolled a 17. That means I have to be a dick to you. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, because it seems like you're saying, well, you sort of go through your life and you're taught these things, but then you experience life, and then maybe things shift, and you sort of refine your sense of philosophy or ethics and morals and whatnot. And I find that curious because at a certain point, if there is no choice, is there any moral culpability at all?
No. Like that's a law thing. Like that's a thing we made. Like human beings made. Our society made. Because we didn't have an answer back then. Like, I think I read something where like people thought that seizures were like the result of God like punishing the person.
Demonic possession.
Yeah. And they're just like, oh, that's like nervous system issues in the future. You know? I just think there's too much about the brain we don't know. So we can't assign blame, rationale, or cures, or therapies to anything. And we just, you know. And it'd be too expensive to fix people at the root, invest in a community, and change their lives. It's easier to just be like, prison!
Straight to jail.
Yeah.
I mean, the prisons that have like rehabilitation centers, those usually seem to work pretty well. Giving them skill sets and stuff to come back out into society, you know, rather than us just punish and then throw you back out in society, being worse off than we came in.
I would, like, I don't know the numbers, but I would like to see a statistic to see how many of those prisons actually rehabilitate people and what the rehabilitation even means long term. Like, are they able to hold down a job, a place of living? That's hard. And I'm not even just talking about prisons, I'm just talking about their lives as a whole. How do you get anywhere without a support system? Yeah.
Yeah. I had seen it, I just don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah. I am curious for you, Edwin, just in general. Would you say that there are decisions that you make that are morally good or bad? Or do you see it as just like, well, my life has led me to make these choices, so there isn't like a lack of agency leads to a lack of culpability?
I don't think I'll ever be like, oh, this is like not me. This is the dice roll. That's kind of weird. But I try to live life like, oh, it's all me, even though I think it's not. Like, I believe that it's not. I believe that it's predetermined. But I want to try to assume responsibility for my own life. If that makes sense.
Wow. Okay.
Like, even if I make like a terrible choice, I'm not gonna be like a pussy and be like, oh, that was like just life leading me to making this choice. I would say I would give myself the grace to forgive myself, but I would also hold myself accountable and be like, I can learn, I can be better.
And you take responsibility for your own life. I appreciate that a lot. Because I think that tends to be a trap of predeterminism, where it's like, oh, if my life has been spelled out already for me, and my choices aren't my own, then like, if I make a good decision, yeah, that's cool, but if I make a bad decision, like, yeah, that's also cool, like none of it matters because none of it was up to me in the first place. And there's sort of a shirking of responsibility and culpability of like, like I was always gonna make this decision anyway, I had no choice. Like that was my fate. Versus like, no, actually, I know I made this decision and yeah, maybe I was always destined to make this decision, but I still wish that I didn't, and I still want to be better after.
So I know we're a minute or two past this, but I had to look up the numbers for you. So according to a study done by Harvard, regardless of going through the rehabilitation process in prison, there is an 82% chance that within 10 years they will be back in prison.
Regardless if it's rehabilitation.
Regardless.
4 out of 5 are reincarcerated.
And
Yeah,
this is
obvious-
including the countries that have the rehabilitation.
This is just the U.S.
Okay. Where I said other countries, right, with like more structure.
The only other one I see on here is Norway, and for them it's 20% within 2 years.
What? 20% to come back in 2 years?
With within 2 years of release, 20% of their inmates end up back in prison.
What's further? What's what? 5 years, 10 years down the road?
It didn't go past. It didn't go past 2.
I mean, I think like
Difference in rehabilitated
Between-
inmates versus unrehabilitated.
Correct, right? Because U.S. 80%, where I don't even know how our rehabilitation programs are, and I didn't know we have any, but
Our prison system's pretty broken.
pretty broken. And so 80% of that,
Like every other system.
yeah.
yeah, it's bad. It's a statistic. It says a lot about. Well, I mean, it's fake because it's a stat, but it could be saying like, oh, our prison system is bad. It could say the communities that they attempt to return to don't have a place for them. It could say rehiring is difficult. You know, a bunch of things, right?
One would hope that if the prison system was rehabilitative, that they would discuss any level of like, your community may not welcome you back. Here would be a way to reintegrate yourself into society, into a community that would welcome you, right? Like in my head, I would like to think that a program would identify potential hurdles they would encounter upon leaving prison, and provide adequate solutions for that. But
That's okay. Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to.
And Google the.
Dude,
we
I
were
can't-
in
I can't-
African prison populations, bro. That was
It was like 700,000 out of 1 million or something like that. And I was like, I need a.
So 70%.
Yeah. But anyways, so I wanted to see each of y'all's. What are your sources of just kind of strength, comfort, and peace in difficult times? Like, what sustains y'all when the hard times come? So, you go first. How we go?
sure.
Me.
I am one who takes a lot of value out of the understanding that good times and bad times are both blessings in different ways. So when things become difficult, for me, I find that is an opportunity to learn something, to grow in something that I may lack, to deepen my faith, to deepen my trust in God, who may have brought me to this problem but would never leave me in the problem. And my source of strength and comfort and peace there is that I know that even if that suffering were to last me for the rest of my life, that as long as I maintain my faith in God and my faith that I am His and that He loves me and that He is calling me to life beyond this one, that suffering is endurable and that reward would come after. I am oftentimes, so far, every time, granted the massive grace of that suffering coming to an end. As you've mentioned a couple of times, Edwin, we live in quite a luxurious culture and society that our lives are not steeped in controversy and suffering and conflict and war. So it is less often for me in my life as a white professional male in a small town in Texas who, right, like most of the time my life is very good and very blessed. When things get difficult, I understand that there is always something to be gained from that.
Edwin?
What? It's me? I thought it was. I thought it was Jeff. What sustains me in difficult times? I don't know. I just kind of like.
You just do it and get
Yeah,
out.
thug it out. I thug it out. I'm just memeing. I would say. I think. Yeah, I don't know, dude. That's a hard question. I was gonna think about it more, but I just feel like bad things always happen, you know. And I'm just like, oh man, I guess it's not the absolute worst scenario. And then, honestly, I get pretty like malicious, if I'm being honest. I get pretty pissed off, and I'm like, man, if God's real, fuck me, you know. And I think about that, and that brings me a source of comfort because I'm like, oh, you know what? It's gonna happen this way anyways, because that's what He wanted. That's, you know, that's what He chose. So I just gotta deal with it. Like, who might argue against the the plan? I just feel like I think about how pointless it is to fight against fate and a chance, and it's better to use my energy towards like something else. You know? Coping, whether it's like positively with the jam or like negatively with booze. You always find a way. I think human beings are like so like flexible. Yeah, like resilient is the word. That's what I wanted. They always find a way to power through, or die. You know.
I mean, real. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff?
For me, it's like I draw from multiple sources. Like, one being like the end goal. Like, the whole reason I'm here is just to get to that version of paradise. But then I also draw on the earthly portions as well, such as, you know, friends, family, my wife. It's all stuff that keeps me going.
Yeah. Good. For me, it's man. I'm actually not. I'm throwing myself back into when I was, you know, more atheistic and just on my own. When I specifically, I remember it's during college, and that's when kind of just adulthood and responsibility started piling on, and then that's when my depression started hitting, and I'm trying to think of what really helped me, and the problem was like it did like I had nothing to kind of lean on. I was giving in when I was an atheist, and it's just like because of my family and friends, they cared about me, they're there for me, and that was kind of like tether, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't like a enough of a motive to be like, okay, because I was ready to go. So what's the difference now? And I think it's more during the spiritualism, especially when I found God, and it's like, okay, at this point, the pattern of like, okay, I tried multiple times, it didn't happen. So it's like, okay, obviously something's keeping me here, or like I'm feeling. We could even go behavioral. Maybe there was something I truly didn't actually want to go. I guess I don't know, but it felt more spiritual. Like, okay, if I was meant to go, I should have went, but I didn't. So then that means that I'm still here for a reason. So that's what keeps me going. And especially now, I came to terms with kind of following you, Edward. It's just like came to terms with it. It's like, okay, I'm meant to go through bad times like that. People are just gonna have bad times. Period. But in my case, I felt like every time I survived through it, there was a big change in me. I learned a lot, and I went through a drastic change every single time. So that's what keeps me. It's like, okay, every time that happens to me, I feel like, okay, this is a transformation. This is something I needed to learn, a lesson to be learned. Kind of the same, especially back in being atheist was everything happens for a reason, and now it's like, okay, I'm meant to be here. I'm just gonna pull through and try to be, try to just be aware and try to learn whatever I needed to learn at the time. So that was me personally.
Do you feel like you all have like a purpose then in being here? Do you feel like you know that purpose?
Nope.
Great question. Jeff, you said nope.
Nope.
Like to the first question or the second
I was
question?
gonna say you don't have a purpose, or you don't know what your purpose is.
I don't know what my purpose is, which leads me to believe I don't have one.
Nice.
Logic, yeah. Interesting.
I'm just a sack of meat floating on a rock in space.
Nice. That's good.
But if you have this spiritualism, wouldn't you say there are gods above you that have a role for you, but you couldn't understand it because they're supernatural, they're above human?
I just haven't interpreted what it is that I'm meant to do yet. Like, I'm waiting for the day where I'm like, okay, this is why I'm here. But that day hasn't come. So as of right now, to me, I don't have a purpose. Right now, if I had to throw a purpose, my purpose is to exist until I find out what my purpose is.
Do you think that there is some level of purpose to you being a husband to Cass?
To make her life better.
Do you think that could be part of the reason why you're here?
Part of.
Okay.
But I don't think that's the overall main purpose.
Okay.
Like
You
if
do, in some ways, find small meaning and purpose in elements and parts of your life.
yes. Anyone could do that.
Well, I say
But
that
the way
because-
it was phrased was like the main overarching purpose in all of your life. What is it? And that's where I'm like, oh. But I have
when
many
you-
little
you put
purposes.
A sack of meat floating on a rock line. I was wondering if there was any purpose at all. But, so there is, but as far as like your capital P purpose, what is Jeff here on this rock for? You do not have an answer.
That is undetermined.
Interesting.
About you, Edwin?
I think you know what I'm gonna say, man. No, bro, I don't got a purpose. We're just here, just like you. An ant, a tiny, like asinine dot. Like we're just pretty irrelevant. It doesn't mean like the dots can't like mingle and like bump into each other in like a way that's meaningful to the dots, but as an overarching purpose, I don't really think I don't think I'm meant to, and I don't think there's ever a clear answer to that. I think the part of like life's journey is just figuring out the purpose while believing the purpose is not real, and just enjoying the process. Like, man, what's that dude? Albert Camus, the rock boy, like the pushing the rock. How Sisyphus does. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Sisyphus' rock. Every day he's forced to push this rock all the way up a cliff, and the second he reaches that cliff, it falls right back down, and you gotta keep doing it until you die. Well, no, he's immortal, so he'll do it forever. But that's like us. You know? We can choose to envision that the rock task sucks balls, or we can choose to envision that the rock task is kind of cool. Maybe it gets heavier, but we get stronger. That's okay. But no, there's no meaning. It's a rock. We're pushing it.
No.
No. That's how I interpret it. Colin?
Repeat the question.
Do you believe that our lives have any inherent purpose?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I don't think that it's one of those. I don't think it's an overarching answer. To kind of contradict what you're saying, Jeff, you're like, I'm waiting for my big answer. Of like, the reason Jeff is alive and here on this planet right now is blank. And when people think about at the end of his life, what was Jeff here for? Oh yeah, Jeff was here because he invented something cool, or he was involved in, ending a war or something ridiculous like that. Where it's like, this is why you're here.
Starting one, maybe.
I don't think of things in terms of that. I don't think of Cullen Berry as like, I've been born for a thing and I just need to find that thing. I think my purpose here is to be alive and to live in the best way that I can as a reflection of gratitude for the gift that I've received. That's my purpose. I don't think it falls into an identity of an action or a task. I think it's an attitude. That if I have been given a gift, and if God said, "Hey, you get to be born and live this life," it's like, okay, that's amazing. It's like, cool. What do I do with this? It's like, I have realized that the purpose that I have is that I am loved and I can share that love with other people, and so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try to be the best person that I can be, and I'm going to try to lead other people to be the best people that they can be. And then my time will be up. But while I'm here, it's a tremendous gift, and I want to share that gift with other people.
Do you feel like faith then is integral to that belief, or do you think you could have had that whole outlook without faith and stuff?
I think I have a really easy framework to discover that for myself. I think I was granted that as a kid. I mean, obviously, that stems from a very Catholic belief system. But to say, like, my life is a thing that I can do whatever I want, so I choose to be good, I don't think that that's necessarily inherently religious. I think it would have been harder for me to arrive to a decision like that. But as we've noted, like, I am a product of my upbringing and my nature. And my upbringing and nature have both led me very strongly towards a framework that would lead to that.
I think it's nice that you're able to say that. I think a lot of people would say that having a religion is integral to forming that framework, but you're just saying it helped me to arrive at that framework easily.
Of course.
I think that's nice to admit.
I know so many people. I mean, it's funny because I'm sitting here next to Vin, who, when he and I met, really when we started to become friends, he was not religious in any way and only beginning a spiritual journey and had a lot of questions about spirituality as a whole. And as one who came from that framework, there were so many things that he would say that I'd be like, yeah, no, that's exactly, like, I see things the same way. Or it's interesting, he would say something because I'd say, wow, I see it pretty much in the same way, but with a different vocabulary or a slightly different lens through which I see the same ideas. Like a lot of things for him that were signs from the universe, and being like, well, yeah, that's the Holy Spirit. Like, we're talking about the same things, but through different vocabulary and different lenses. But I wouldn't ever look at him and be like, yeah, but I'm the more right person. Like, it's all discovering that purpose and saying, look, you are trying to be better and you're trying to discover what you can do with this life, and that's an amazing thing. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Going along with this, I want to hear Edwin, your answer to what gives you hope then if you're in this predeterministic and like there's no purpose. So then what makes you like hopeful for the future, hopeful for your life?
I think I'm just grateful for the time I get to spend with the people that I like. I think that's what gives me hope that I will, in some way, be. I will hopefully get to meet them and hang out with them again and again, and I guess just not taking any moment for granted. And if something should happen, like could not see them anymore, then I would be happy that I spent my time with those people in a meaningful way. Like, yeah, that's like, like I don't waste time. Is what I feel. So, like I did all I could.
I like it. I love that. That's literally one of my kind of mantras of living life. Is like, did I do my best? Yes. Cool. There's whatever outcome comes out of it. It's like, what else could I possibly have done?
No regrets.
Exactly. Yeah. What makes you hopeful?
I'm gonna back up real
Okay.
quick. Edwin, regarding hope specifically toward the future of your life, would you say you have hope for anything?
No.
Okay.
No, like I can't really help for anything because I just feel like it'll just happen, no matter what. I guess I would be happy if things worked out how I wanted them to, but I don't think I can specifically say like, oh, it would be really great if it happened in this way because it's already going to happen.
Which I think is a strength. I think is a strength of Peter Chum is like you can't be ever disappointed, right? There's a risk to being hopeful is that it doesn't happen, and then you get disappointed or you go through despair, depression, or rock bottom because the thing you were putting, let's say you put all your life into one thing you were hopeful for, didn't happen, and then you lost. So I'd say that's a good strength to have.
Yeah, the only difference there I would say is I would want to specify the difference between a hope and an expectation.
What's the difference for you?
Expectation would be something that you're counting on happening.
Okay.
An outcome that you have, for some reason, statistically or otherwise, said, this is the thing that should happen. Versus hope is not a thing that you're counting on, but a thing that you would like to happen or would be pleased if it did happen. But not an element of expectation. Rather
So-
just a desire for that outcome to occur.
Expectation. I expect to eat dinner tonight. Hope. I hope I win the lottery.
That's true.
And so when you're saying it's beneficial to have a perspective without hope because you're not let down, expectations lead to disappointment. I think hope only becomes disappointing when it becomes the expectation. That's why that's the old adage, hope for the best, expect the worst.
Well, like for example, if I ask a girl out, I hope she would say yes. I can't get disappointed when she says no. I didn't actually expect her to say
Then
yes.
you set your expectation too high.
But I didn't expect her to say. I just hoped she would, and I thought, so I could hope for her to say yes, but I expected her what? No expectations at all.
Of course. Then whatever happens,
It didn't
you
matter.
cannot be disappointed because there was no expectation. You can still hope that she'll say yes, of course. But if there is no expectation towards yes or no, you're not disappointed.
There was no way you could have been disappointed at first.
If she says no and you say, well, that was an outcome that could happen, and I didn't expect either way. Hope and expectation are two very, very different things.
I mean, I'm not like a bot. Like I hope. Like I guess I could be like, oh yeah, I really hope I could spend as much possible time with all my friends as I possibly could, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna expect literally that everybody, the world will combust tomorrow, or I will get hit by a bus tomorrow. I just try to live life like that, where everything's gonna be shit.
Or both. You could get hit by a bus and then the world combusts.
I hope I get hit by the bus first.
Because Edwin, you strike me as a man who has no expectations for the future. You don't expect anything to happen. things could be radically different tomorrow, and you would not be shaken at all. You'd be like, okay. People would be like, why aren't you freaking out? You'd be like, why am I freaking out? Like, anything can change at any time. Why? Like, I don't expect things to stay the same or change. They just do. Life just happens. That makes a lot of sense to me, given your outlook on life. The hope thing, you strike me as a hopeful person in general, like, especially if this life is the only one that you have. To say, like, well, yeah, I hope I live till I'm 100 and I still have all the loved ones around me. That sounds like a good life. It sounds like a life that I would enjoy and I would find a lot of peace in. I can hope for that, while still understanding that a predetermined life path may take me in a completely different direction.
Yeah, you know, when you guys are talking like the afterlife, like in heaven, I thought some like before the podcast, I was kind of thinking like, I wonder what like heaven really means, like to me, and I oftentimes think that heaven is like, well, one, I don't think it's real, but if it were real, like how it is in the books in the Bible, I would be like bored, you know, like, well, I get everything I want, like no, like nothing bad happens ever. I'd be bored as fuck, and then I would wish that I would be born again into a very flawed world over and over again. And I think heaven to me is like here, is right now, is what you make this time right now. Because when you die, you don't know what's going to happen. All you know is that you die, and it could be over, and it could be heaven as you see in the books. But I would like to envision the life I live now is the heaven that I perceive. So no reason to try to regret anything with this kind.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's a different one than that one. Heaven on, or like I guess heaven on.
That's a saying.
Yeah, I stole it. It was from Vinland Saga. I stole that shit.
Good show.
Have you watched it? Yeah, you watched that? When Canute is like, God, I hate everybody. Fuck God. And then he's like, I will make heaven on earth my way. And then he kills a bunch of people. But he had an idea, okay? He had a plan.
Spoilers.
He had a, oh, my bad. He had a plan, though. He tried. Anyways, and you can cut that out, so I know.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, what gives you hope?
A lot of things. The main hope is, you know, at the end of the journey, I'm happy with the outcome.
Your hope is at the end of the journey, you're happy with the outcome. That's your hope.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've had to make a lot of adjustments to, like, that hope and the way I've pictured it, but the end goal is still the same.
Happy with the outcome. What does that look like? Let's say you're 90 and you're on your deathbed. What does happy with the outcome look like for Jeff?
That I've done everything that I physically could have done while I was here, and I've made a difference in as many people's lives as I could.
Like, at that point, do you think it matters if you end up going to heaven or hell?
I mean, I would still like to go to heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
My version of heaven. I don't want to be subject to eternal damnation and torture.
What if you died and you believed that you lived a good, meaningful life, right? You did the best you could. And then God's like, not good enough, bro. Like, I need you to admit to me that your life was not good enough, and then I'll let you into heaven. Like, otherwise, you're going to hell.
That's what the judgment's for, though. The judgment is to talk about your transgressions in your life. So, if I died tomorrow and stood before St. Peter or whoever's at the gate to my version of heaven, and they were like, you did X, Y, and Z. X and Y, fantastic, good job. But they were like, Z over here, that's not good in our book. That's not good. You shouldn't have done that. I would then have to either ask clarification, like, okay, why was that bad? If it was something in like the gray area, like obviously if it's something super bad, like freaking murder somebody, okay, yeah, that's bad. But if they were like, you've done a lot of good, but you've also done bad, I would talk through the bad with whoever is doing said judgment and be like, okay, I can see how that's bad, like, and I would then repent. Because as we discussed earlier, it's impossible to do 100% good. Literally impossible.
Right.
I know there are things I've done in my life that were bad. And I will have to face those one day.
Did you not face it now? If, say, you confronted yourself, like, I did a bad thing, I'm gonna change, and you changed it, would that not count as facing it?
For the things that I know, yes. But there are things that I don't know that may be considered bad, when it comes to my judgment. And I might have to, reflect on it then and there and be like, okay, you know what? Now that you bring it up, I can see how that was bad. But right now, in this form, it's not on my mind. I don't remember it.
What practices do y'all do during, I guess you can do it regular times, but it's especially in like hard times that you find that help y'all through those, or it's comforting, like praying, meditating,
Who do you want to start?
I'm a big fan of just going and sitting in a quiet chapel. Huge fan of that. Oftentimes, it's just an opportunity for me to slow down. I don't have a lot of places right now in my life where I feel like things are still and silent. And consistently for me throughout my life, any sort of chapel or church space has been a source for that, a resource for me for that. It helps pump the brakes, oftentimes on my mind.
what are you doing when you're there? Is it just literally sitting silence, or
Depends. Depends on the reason why I'm there. There are times where if I just feel like there's a lot going on in my head, silence is the best thing. There are times where I'm sitting and I know that there's wisdom to be found in the scriptures that are available to me. I just need a place and an environment in which to sit down and find them. And then sometimes that just looks like a dialogue or prayer to God. Just being able to talk about what it is that I'm experiencing, any questions, any doubts, all of it. Just being able to be very open and very transparent. And know that while there may not be an answer, that recognizing those things within myself is an important first step, and also being able to take a very important second step and say, hey, I'm not trying to handle this on my own. I want to ask for help. And oftentimes that's all God is asking for. It's for a recognition of humility to say, like, look, you can try to fight this out on your own. I'm not going to make you ask for help, but if you do ask for help, I am here. And so I do.
I think I just cry. I just find I find a nice corner, or I drive somewhere and I just cry. I whip out the good crying music, something sad. Persona 3, the ending song, very good.
You
Cry.
it's like, I think this is real.
Yeah, no, it's totally. I cry. I work out. You know, like typical like monkey move. I just like I go hard in the paint until I get humbled by my own like a physical like limitation. I'm like, oh man, that was rough. Well, at least it doesn't seem so bad now. And then and then typically it just releases all the stress. And I'm like, all right, the problem is still there, but I'm too tired now. So emotion's gone. I think that works most of the time. Or I just talk to my wife. I just talk to her about my problem. And she usually talks me through a lot of things.
That's good.
It's pretty nice.
Who, if Jennifer wasn't there, would there be someone else you'd talk to? Who else? Is there, like,
The boys. The
Yeah.
boys.
yeah.
Yeah, the boys.
It depends on my needs at the time. So, like, there are times where I'll pray. And depending on the need is who I pray to. But, like, for comfort, my quiet chapel is usually between the hours of 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. when I am still awake and she is asleep. That is my quiet time where I can lay next to her, feel her comfort, her warmth, and reflect in my head. Like, that is where I am at peace.
Nice. Yeah, so praying and then just being in your quiet place.
About you?
Throughout the years, I had to come up with so many coping mechanisms to do everything. My first main was just breathing techniques from meditation, right? There's different kinds, but my main was like 4 seconds in the nose, 4 seconds out the mouth. That helps me in the immediate whatever meditation when it gets really bad. It's like I can't just outright just stop the negative feeling. And it's like I need to really literally sit down. Kind of like y'all too, like go like going to the chapel when it's like if the world's just like just going and speeding around, I just need somewhere away from real life, and that's usually the chapel for me. Just being quiet and then pray, and then working out and gaming. Those help a lot, especially gaming. Just the human nature of like distracting yourself and just playing and having a good time with, the boys and everything. And then if it gets really bad, if I'm like depressed, I'll like pig out or something. I'll probably eat like a bunch of honey buns or something. That was at my worst.
Gluttony.
Yeah, context was at my work. It was during UTSA. I would, oh my god, I always forget. I always surprise myself, but I would eat a full box of honey bun. There was 9 of them in there, and we calculated it. Each one had like 180 calories, so it was like 3,000 calories. Because at my worst, I ate 2 full boxes in one sitting, so it was over like 3,000-4,000 calories. And I would also eat a Whataburger meal on top of that, which is another
Rough.
1,500 calories.
Where do you put it all?
I don't know. I was don't ask me. I have no idea.
He was pretty big at that time.
I was
His
my
ass.
head was 210. Yeah.
Ben has lost a lot of weight.
I'm heavier than that now.
You're built different.
Yeah, I'm fat as fuck.
So I will admit, as the person to go first at this question, I thought your question was, where do you find comfort spiritually?
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, the chapel was my answer, and then everybody was like, oh, games and your spouse, and I was like, all of these are fantastic answers that I did not understand were on the table. I just feel the need to amend my answer.
Not allowed.
When things are bad, I call people. Oftentimes that's my girlfriend, Sarah. Oftentimes that can be Vin. But to me, it's a grounding thing. Like, if things are rough, it's usually because I'm by myself. It's usually because I'm way too much up in my head about something or other. And whether I'm calling somebody to talk about the thing that's on my mind, or whether it's to talk about literally anything else, getting on the phone with someone or seeing them in person gets me outside of myself. It connects me to other people and the rest of the world, and recontextualizes the problem. Tends to be a fairly slippery slope for me when things go sideways. And so it's a matter of saying, we're just going to completely remove ourselves from that situation and put ourselves in a different situation. And getting into a conversation about something else can be that distracting mechanism for long enough, honestly, to help stop that snowball from rolling down the hill and getting bigger, which helps. And then if I'm really good, I can come back to it and I can make a little snowman out of the ball that rolled down the hill, and we're good to go. And I can recover and keep on moving. But people, I mean, I'm an extrovert by nature, so I recharge with people. I'm at my best when I'm with people. So when I'm not, things get dark, I know where I need to go.
Funny, I forgot that I literally talk all the time. So
Yeah,
like
all the time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do, like, even with Edwin and Jeff and stuff. Yeah, I just talk. I think venting helps, right? Venting is one of the best coping methods. So
Depends.
As long as you have someone you can comfortably vent to.
that's true, right?
And I know people who avoid venting specifically because it's talking about the thing that's troubling. They're like, I need to talk about anything but the thing that's aggravating me or making me sad or making me anxious. I don't want to talk about anything related to that. Let's talk about anything else.
Pure avoidance.
Yeah.
So how would that person go about, I guess, solving the problem? Would they just kind of come to the answer on their own?
It is, at the moment that they're saying that, it's a desire to do a lot of what Edwin's gym experience is of, if this is an emotional response right now, I need to get past the emotional response so that I can deal with it more logically. When you get done with the gym, you're like, oh man, I'm too tired to be emotionally charged about this. So now maybe I can see it from a more logical headspace. That if that thing has just happened to make them anxious and they say, I want to talk about something else, and then we get done having a conversation about a movie that we saw 2 weeks ago or you know, what they're cooking for dinner, give it 20 minutes, give it a half hour, and then it's like, okay, we've laughed a couple of times, we've moved through a couple of different conversations, the emotions have flown. Then we're in a position to be able to tackle it.
Yeah.
And then maybe venting happens. But maybe venting doesn't happen. Maybe it's just, okay, I just needed to be able to get over that emotional hump, and now I can just deal with whatever this problem is on my own. Everybody's different. But some people like venting. Personally, it never helps me. I'll be very honest. The very few times that I've tried to vent to people, it never goes well for me personally.
But you just said that was one of your, like,
No, I call people, and I can talk through the problem, but I never vent in a way that says I need to get these negative emotions.
I interpret that as kind of like, yes, you get your emotions, but also a way of like trying to get a bigger picture or like a different outlook on.
Well, I was gonna call that venting.
What would you call that then?
Talking.
Talking?
Yeah, I would say that's having a discussion about it for sure. That you want to talk it out, but I wouldn't say that you need to vent. If you're like, hey, give me your perspective on this. I wouldn't be like, wow, Vin's venting.
But I call those every time. It's like, hey, I need a vent. And it usually comes to a discussion. So I guess I've been using it wrong. Like, hey, I need to what?
I usually expect you to start out with, this thing happened and it really sucks. And if that lasts for about 30 seconds, it took you about 30 seconds to vent, and then it becomes a discussion. But whenever you say venting, I anticipate it's here's my emotional reaction to this thing.
Sure.
And I know people who vent, and it takes them an hour to vent, and that's exhausting. I understand they need it, but it can be really tiring. But everybody's different.
Yeah.
I don't do very well with that. Sorry. Yeah, it's fine, honestly. Because talking about it just gets me into a worse headspace.
I wanted to see who are y'all's idols, just from wherever, whether real, fiction, spiritual, religious. Jeff.
Cullen.
Boo. Bad answer. Bad answer. That guy sucks.
It's a great guy. I've been staring at that question, and I'm like, who is my idol?
Idols. It could be multiple, right?
Right.
But,
But I'm trying to look at this from a full spiritual.
okay. Well, I mean,
Doesn't have to be.
right? Doesn't human help with, like, defining who you are and getting in the spiritual?
I mean, I've had many idols throughout life, but currently,
Sure.
I would have to go with Don.
Your dad-in-law.
Yeah.
Dawn. Tell us about Dawn.
He always has such a positive outlook on life, and he has so much knowledge and wisdom that at every chance he has, he imparts on anyone that's willing to listen or needs that knowledge or wisdom. Like, in the 7 years I've known him now, like, I have learned so much from him, both spiritually and non. And he's someone that I know, like, at the end of the day, he'll look back and smile.
Nice. Edwin?
I think fictional characters, I would say Guts from Berserk.
Yeah!
That dude is awesome. Like, a guy like his whole life stacked against him, like born in a battlefield. And then I'm not gonna spoil anything for people who've never seen it, but
Sure.
it's a very inspirational character. Goes through probably the worst thing. He's a human. He's being cursed to fight against the God Hand, the strongest people in like the universe. The human. And through all of it, I don't even think. Well, like in the beginning, he has a very like human journey. He's an emo dude. Just hates everyone. The edgelord, you know.
Yeah.
And then, and then as he gets older, he just kind of realizes, you know, there's a plan. It's bigger than himself. Can't understand it, but he's willing to face anything that plan has. And if it's his time to go, it's his time to go. You know?
Sure.
But he still goes hard in the paint. Goated.
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 Any more idols? Or he's
Um,
one.
I mean, yeah, like that's the fictional one I can think of.
I mean, anybody, right? Like, but you basically you're kind of like, okay, I'm going through a tough time. Guts can go through it. I can.
Yeah, bro. Guts would take this no problem. No, he would go through it with huge problem, but he'd be like, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, like, I don't really idolize anybody in my life.
Okay.
I would say maybe, obviously, like, my parents, my wife, they're pretty, like, dependable, like, resilient people. Flawed, but, you know, still great. I would say I respect. I don't want to, yeah. I mean, like, I respect Jennifer so much. She's, like, gone through a lot of shit. She's still, like, the good person that she remains to be, and I think that's very respectable. I don't know if that'll change, but But right now, it's pretty nice.
Sure. Awesome, man.
What about you, Vin?
Let me. I keep thinking. Yeah, go on talking. I keep thinking through it. It's a hard one because different moments in my life require different idols, right? I guess Jeff was kind of alluding to that as well. And they still apply today. So off the top of my head, the first one would be childhood-wise. Vin was my dad, right? He was a great father, bad person, but I didn't see the bad person. I only saw was a great father, right? He's the one who built the foundation for us. So child-wise, my dad. Growing up, then a bunch of fictional, like watching Goku go through, struggles and like trainings. Like I don't care what the limits are, I'm gonna break them. He's the start of that. But then Avatar showed up, and I love Zuko and Iroh. Zuko being like, okay, I misinterpreted my destiny, but I can make amends for it. I can change, and now I've created my own destiny, not following someone else's. Uncle Iroh always being calm and knowing, just being there for everyone, whether like in the interpretation of the story it's good or bad, but for him it's like, no, I'm playing my part and I'm being like just good, and I don't know, just being calm in every situation. Now is what? Now it's like even each of y'all. That's the problem with like the idolizations, because I take good from each of y'all, right? Each of y'all have amazing characteristics. It's like, cool, I don't have that, so how I'm gonna go copy it, right? I'm gonna be like, how can I do my best to imitate and put that into my life, right? So each of y'all are my idols in some way as well. His dad, his brother, even Tran, Bill, in specific ways, and so I don't know. It's a weird. I don't know how to answer that question. So it seems like it's just like everyone. I don't know. All right, Colin.
So you just got everybody in your corner. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know the word. I don't want to say foolish, but I think like it's just a missed opportunity if I didn't look at y'all and be like, wow. And I saw y'all's good traits and be like, oh yeah, like whatever, that's nothing, right? It's like y'all are my best friends for a reason. It's like I see these in y'all, and I want to keep y'all in my life, but also I want to imitate it because it's awesome to see, right?
You want a piece?
I do. I'm a little jealous, a little envious.
No, I know. Who are my idols? I have two. One fictional and one real. My fictional idol is Simone from Gurren Lagann, the anime. One season, Pierce the Heavens, baby. That show has the fastest power creep I think that has ever existed in anime. It is incredible. There's always, it's like, oh, it's a problem that can't be solved. And it's like, you're wrong. We will do what can't be done. We will go beyond. Kind of a plus ultra thing. If you want to go My Hero Academia, I love All Might. Season 1 All Might is goated to me and will be the best interpretation of Superman that ever exists. Which is kind of ironic because there hasn't been a real good Superman except for him, personally. But Simone and All Might kind of both embody that idea of like, no, there's always like, you can always do better. You can always go beyond what you think your limit is. And then my dad, my father, especially as an adult now, recognizing the kind of man he is, the way that he holds himself and like the way that he operates in the world with other people is just really cool. Like I realize that he just does so much good for so many people, and that is just his MO. Like that's how he operates in the world. Period. It's not a thing that he goes out and has to do extra to do. Like, he set his life up in such a way that what he does is a positive outcome and influence on others. And I think that that is like, that's beyond cool. Like, I want that for my life, and I hold my dad in very high esteem for that. So they're big shoes to fill, and he does a lot of really amazing things in the world right now. But I idolize him for that, and I hope that I can do the kind of good that he's doing in the world right now one day. I'm aiming for that. Yeah.
Past a character, what is a story y'all, I guess, I don't know the word, but idolize as well? What's a story y'all like keep to your core as part of your character development, I guess? Jeff? This one's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I can answer this one.
If anyone else doesn't have an answer, I have an answer.
Persona 3. Persona 3, baby.
I guess just give a synopsis, I guess.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
I guess we can do
Life-
a spoiler warning.
Life is hard. Meet as many people as you can. Be cool with as many people as you can, because life's joy comes from connections and not finding your own personal, not finding things to benefit just your life, but other people's lives. And in the end, you fight. Man, I'm looking at Jeff. I was trying to be like, oh shit, I can't say the. Well, you know how like a lot of Japanese RPGs kind of end with, quest 1, look for a cat. Quest, like the ending quest, kill
Fight God.
That's like a meme. So you always end up like challenging some rule that was put in place by some entity of power, and it's usually like a god or something. So I like that. That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alright, Colin, what's your story?
This is gonna be classic seminary kid. It's the Last Supper into the Passion and Death on the Cross. I know that's just so cliche, so Catholic nerd of me. The idea of life being both a combination of sitting down and having a meal with the people that you love, and then at the same time also being a life of carrying burden and suffering and desiring to be the best person you can be, even if that's harder than living an easy life. Taking the path less traveled, even while it's the more difficult one, but the more rewarding one, and bearing that cross anyway, and taking that all the way to the grave. That my life seems to be an amalgamation of moments of either of those two moments. That I feel that I am blessed with an opportunity to gather around a table like right now and spend a great meal with great people and be blessed for those moments, or be blessed with the opportunity to bear a very heavy cross in the name of becoming the best person that I can be and doing the most good that I can. And choosing that cross and picking it up anyway. And knowing that when I fall, I can get back up. The amount of just sheer perseverance and resilience and just like grit and fight that it takes to be able to continue to do something as difficult as it may be. People who are like that have, like, I have no idea why, but that type of story always makes me cry. People who are unbreakable like that, just like, there's something that taps into me in my soul that, like, yeah, it makes me want to run through a brick wall. Like, it gets me so fired up. Yeah,
you come up with one?
The little engine that could.
Okay. A little engine that could.
I actually don't know that story.
Oh. Jeff? No spoilers. Just kidding.
I was just being a smart ass and quoting Major Payne.
Okay.
Oh, whoops.
I think mine would be. I'm trying to come up with one specific, but there hasn't been because it's such a cliche trope of like. Obviously, I mentioned Avatar, where Zuko, specifically in the end, where Zuko. Oh, well,
Spoilers!
I guess. Let's okay.
It's like 20 years old.
Yeah,
at this point,
so
isn't it?
Zuko like he loses his powers because he lost like his firebending was based off of the anger and hatred. So then he lost that, and it's like crap. What am I supposed to do? So he finds new meaning and new purpose, and he gets his firebending, but in from a different medium, right? The trope of like, oh, I used to be powerful and all knowing, and then it's like, oh, I got humbled by some big event or life changing accident, and it's like, okay, I have to look at life a different way and build myself back up. I like isekais like that where like solo leveling is a big one of where like I was the worst ranking hunter, and it's like, okay,
Hey, now that one is spoilers. That's new.
solo leveling.
Yeah.
Well, like the manga's like 20 years old also.
Not everyone reads the mangas.
That's true.
For people who are anime people.
Well, okay, watch the first episode. What do you mean? It's like, he's,
Here, we'll just do this. Spoiler warning.
No, I'm not gonna spoil it, but basically it's just like, okay, and then he gets an opportunity to be like, okay, I can get myself out of this. I'm gonna grow stronger. That's it. That's not a spoiler. Like literally, that's in the first episode. There's another manga, Breaker, where this guy, he's bullied in high school all the time. He's super weak, and he's ready to die, and he gets an opportunity from a master martial artist, and it's like I have nothing else to live for. Please teach me. I only have you. And he goes to, obviously he learns, but then he's like, I have to break away from my teacher and live on my own now because, obviously you don't want to be attached. But yeah, those kind of stories of like, I guess that's kind of like determining your own fate and breaking away from your original destiny and stuff. That's always so cool. And you get a super power up. I'm still trying to become Super Saiyan to this day.
Keep trying.
Yeah, Kamehamehas at work. It's gonna happen.
One of these days, you're gonna blow a hole in the
It took Master Roshi 50 years, right? I got 20 more years left. Don't worry.
The shonen lords over here. The ultimate free will. I determine I will be the strongest. I don't know. Like I said, I'm like a downer, so I really like animes where like people suck and they just continue to suck no matter what, but they just find a way around it in a stupid way.
But Guts didn't it kind of sucks, but like no, he built.
Guts, I think he never makes it through a fight like without getting like bodied in some way, or I feel like, well, no, the pivotal plot point. Never mind. But he's cool. I like. You guys watch Konosuba?
Yes.
That's just funny. Like he sucks. His power sucks. Everything about him sucks.
Yeah.
But
Kazuma
great.
is one of my spirit animals.
Yeah, a troll. It's fun. He makes things work his own way. And I like that. Making the best out of the circumstance you have, and not like necessarily like.
Right.
I'm gonna-
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
He
fun.
still sucks, but he's gonna have a good time while he's at it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Boy, they all do that in that show, don't they?
Oh yeah, I see this hand gif.
I have that gift saved.
Fellow degenerate.
Yes.
Wow.
You got that saved. You're definitely in the right camp.
Hey man,
Yeah.
put it in the general chat. What are you doing?
Yeah. I wonder what else is in the folder.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh god.
That's not playing.
It's playing for me.
You gotta click in the window.
Oh, there. Okay.
You asked what else I had saved. I've got like 30 of them.
Yeah, it's about as expected.
I got nothing else. That's pretty it.
That's the end of the podcast? Alright.
No, whoa, hold on. Okay. Yeah. So we'll end it here. Was the finale for the Connections chapter. So starting next week, we'll be getting into vice and addictions. Starting with wealth and greed. So that'll be pretty cool. Jeff with the motto.
Alright, for those of you listening, don't forget, we do have our Discord server. It is called the Brothers Bonfire. If you're wanting a community and a band of brothers that are going through similar experiences as you, then come join our journey and take a seat at the bonfire. Our Discord link will be in the About section, and all are welcome to join.
Along with uploading every Wednesday, we're also streaming the podcast when we can on Sundays. So come hang with us after the podcast. The stream is a safe space for anyone to just chill, hang, and chat about anything. Take care, guys, and thank you, Cullen and Edwin.
Yeah, thank you both.
Cool.
Yes, sir.